Welcome to the ObstacleDominator.com podcast featuring Benny Gifford and Brakken Crocker. Whether you want to dominate your next obstacle race or just get started in obstacle racing, you're about to discover every tactic you need to know, from gear to training to nutrition. Get the latest tips from the trenches, get your questions answered, and show up at your next obstacle race ready to dominate. And now, here's Benny and Brakken.
I hate saying ladies and gentlemen at the beginning of every podcast, so I'm just going to not even say hi to you guys. I'm just going to say welcome to the podcast. So you may notice that I actually have a shirt with sleeves on, and Brakken is sporting the sleeveless shirt. What happened here, dude?
Not only a sleeveless shirt, sleeveless hoodie.
Oh, you're right.
No guest today. In honor of just you and I sitting down for a fireside chat, I decided to pay homage to the great sweet Benny Gifford and wear a sleeveless hoodie.
Well done. You pulled it off. And
you wore a sleeved shirt for me.
I did.
We didn't even discuss this.
And I picked it to be white, just like how pasty and white you look in this shot. We need to work on the lighting. I'll tell Carrie, you know what, by the time this comes out, maybe Carrie, our editing lady, will have been able to make you look less haunting. But
you know what? I got sunburned this week and I ran shirtless twice. This screen right now is not indicative of my true pastiness. I am pale, but I'm not quite this pale.
You know, the only place that I ever get burnt is my legs. And that's when I wear progressively shorter and shorter shorts. And so that little thigh area that never sees the sun. Oh, by the way,
do you have perfect hair pattern, but you also have perfect natural suntan lotion.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky with my skin tone being Israeli. I've got that olive tone. It's real hard for me to burn. And all that happens is I toast lightly. I get a little darker, but I don't really get burnt.
What am I seeing poking out underneath that left sleeve there?
Yeah,
it doesn't look
this?
Like your typical
dude
whoop strap.
I'm so excited about this. So before I show you what it is, I have been, ever since that mountain lion attack in Colorado Springs, where that dude came out of it all messed up, but he survived and stuff. I was thinking, am I badass enough to fight off a mountain lion with just my bare hands? Maybe, but I'd rather not find out in the moment without something on me. So I started thinking, what if I can carry a knife somehow? And I started thinking, how can I fix that to myself without carrying a bunch of weight and stabbing myself? And so after buying and trying out,
you have a concealed carry knife on you,
dude. You freaking know it, mofo. Now it's very tiny, which was the point. I don't want to carry around some 9-inch fixed blade knife, but it's incredibly light and it goes boom right in there. You can't even tell you're wearing it. It just feels like you've got a strap on your arm or whatever. It's extremely light and it's just a quick pinch and pull. And it's ridiculously sharp. It's not exactly the prime knife to have for whatever could possibly happen, because I got this from a diving website for scuba diving. I think this is meant for gutting a fish or something like that. It's ridiculously sharp. Maybe Kurt could tell me what it's for. But I don't wear it here in Texas because there's nothing trying to attack me out here except for snakes. But with all the running I've been doing on the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that, I've just thought I'd rather have it than not have it. And it's kind of like a passive thing that sits on my arm. It doesn't take a lot of effort, so I might as well do it.
I like that. And it's easily accessible. One of the issues with trail running with the mountain lion is that by the time you see it, if it's attacking you, it's already on you, and you can't unzip anything and pull it out because your hands are going to be busy trying not to die. So I like the fact that you're already going to be huddled up here. It's just out and go. Probably the only way they could make it better is if you had a circular handle that you could get a finger inside so that you couldn't lose it upon impact or a blow to your arm.
Yeah, I'm not crazy. It's not perfect. It has.
Is there any sort of hilt to it? If you stab, is your hand going to slip off it?
No, there's not. That's what I was about to say. Is there's no guard, there's no hilt keeping my hand there. So, I mean, you ideally would want to hold it like this, but that's still any kind of resistance. This is razor freaking sharp. And this,
you know who we need to bring in on this?
Who?
Kevin G.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Mr. Gelati himself. This guy, if you want to talk about some sort of homemade modification to a weapon, I think he's the guy to talk to. I'm sure he has thought this through and could tell you how to affix some sort of accoutrement to your knife so you could really take out a cougar?
Dude, I think you and I were on the same wavelength there, because I actually got this yesterday or 2 days ago. And I called him and he was like, hey, dude, I'm busy the last couple hours of the night. I'll call you in the morning. And I was like, all right, cool. Call me. Because I was going to ask him specifically about this. Because, yeah, dude, after his obsession with guns that he exhibited when he was
not just guns.
Well, I say guns specifically because when he was our team captain on season 2 of Spartan, he kept on wanting to like throw up the double pistols when we came over the fire jump and stuff like that. And MDC kept on saying, hey, stop, we're not going to use that film, so quit throwing up double pistols. But I think he's got pistols like tattooed on him, and he's just always talking. He got in a fight with not a fight. He got in an interesting heated discussion with our production person who was overseeing us the first night, like within an hour of meeting us, if that. We're just sitting in the lobby in this hotel, and he starts talking about collective America, don't shoot me. But I think it's the Fifth Amendment where you can carry gun.
Is that where you plead the Fifth in court and you're allowed to carry a gun through the courthouse?
All right. So not the Fifth. It's Second Amendment.
Second Amendment right to bear arms.
Okay. Well, I was, it only took me 2 tries to get it right. And yes, I'm from Texas, but no, I know nothing.
Well, those are the 2 most popular amendments, most likely.
Okay. What's the First Amendment?
We're not here to talk politics, Benny.
Oh, you don't know either. Okay. You know what? So
you don't divert me from my knowledge.
All right. Well,
I'm a special ed teacher. If you say it with confidence, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's something that's happened with the promotions world is that I've learned that if I just act like I'm where I'm supposed to be, no one says anything. I saw
this firsthand with you as we were pulling into a parking lot at Citi Field.
I forget what I did.
Say it with confidence. I'm a vendor.
Oh, right.
Send me to the VIP area.
I'm also used to the vendor pitch because I usually am a vendor for different things.
Mike sent me here. Take it up with Mike. He said to park over here.
You really want Mike to have his main vendors late, blah, blah, blah. No, but this is incredibly thin blade. So also it's not perfect. I could bend this if I wanted to with just my fingers. So again, it's really kind of just like make me feel safe and better about myself. But anyways, enough about
that Cougar attack. That Cougar attack, when that came out, that was like, I can't even tell you how many times in Colorado I ran that through my head. Like if a cougar came over, I flipped it over, and if I threw my leg, it got a leg triangle in around it. I could pin its hindquarters down and maybe get a choke in and choke that thing out before I got ripped to shreds. I'll take some slices on the forearms to get it done, and this guy did it. And I don't believe I could actually do that. But when you're running, your mind wanders to all these crazy feats you can do. And when it came out, I was like, this guy, he pulled it off. I could do this. And then reports started coming out like, it might have been a juvenile. And then the final reports came out, and it was like a 42-pounder or something, which is still considered scientifically a pup or a kitten. So it still wasn't even considered like a teenager. So the fact that a 42 or whatever pound cat did that to him, can you imagine what a full-grown triple-digit cat would have done to any human being out there?
Dude, somebody just posted a picture that came across my Instagram feed, and it said, can you imagine? I think it was by the Instagram account Nature is Fucking Lit. And it was a picture of a mountain lion just standing there. And you could tell it was like a zoomed in phone picture because it was kind of pixelated. But this thing, it was stopped with one arm forward. And you can tell it had its weight on its forward half because its shoulders were just like, boom. And I was like, any thoughts I have ever had about, come on, fucking mountain lion, immediately gone. I was like, no. Their muscles are like the size of my head.
Yeah. So spin off of that. So Macaulay, when he and I were living together in Colorado Springs, he was working at the Broadmoor, and that's where he met the girl who is now his fiance. And she was working up at Cloud Camp. You familiar with this, Benny?
No.
No? Okay. Well, her name's Vivian. Did you meet Vivian while we were out there ever?
Yeah, I met Vivian.
Awesome girl. If you're listening out there, Mac or Vivian, congrats on the engagement. We're pumped to head out to Budapest this summer for a wedding.
That's exciting.
She was working up at Cloud Camp. So the Broadmoor is this exclusive, super high-end resort conference center down in the foothills of Colorado Springs. And then Cloud Camp is up at like 9,000 or 10,000 feet on the ridge above it. And it's these like, I don't know, $3,000 or $5,000 a night villas and cabins that the high and mighty of the world go up there, and they have all their needs taken care of. And it's very refined, but it's also very rustic. And
I just want to pause real quick and point out that Bracken just said villas, but not villas.
Yeah, we're talking about Cloud Camp, Benny. We don't pronounce, this is a soft L. All right.
Fancy.
Cloud Camp. We got to put on our bougie accent for this stuff. So anyways, but because it is high country, they have no control over the animals up there. So all the employees, their mandate is that they have to drive up there together in a convoy to and from. They're not allowed to just like take their own vehicle and go up there. They actually escorted to and from Cloud Camp every single day to get up there and down at night, because it's high country in Colorado. And so on the way down one night, they were coming down and their headlights came out over the road and they saw a deer about like 50 yards in front of the car. And as their headlights lit it up, a mountain lion came off the scrub above it and came down, and the deer started and it missed it. And it just had one paw came out and hit it across the side of the head as it went past. And it dropped the deer.
Oh my God.
So like they honked their horn and they went up and the mountain lion ran off, and they like pulled up alongside, and they said the deer was on the ground just kind of like twitching and convulsing a little bit. Now, anyone who's ever seen a deer, these are mule deer in Colorado. Deer are massive creatures. You talk about that mountain lion, they had big muscle. Like deer are ripped, powerful beasts. A lion dropped it with one punch to the side of the head. Can you imagine knocking out a deer? The force it would take? People hit it with their cars and they spring away. So they pulled around and they went down the switchback road and they turned around. As they came around the next one, their brights lit up, the mountain lion dragging it back up. And it
oh my God.
And dragged it back up. And again, this deer is probably upwards of, I don't know, 200 or 300 pounds. And it's just dragging it away, backing up, a 40-degree incline. Like those things are so strong. We think like I could take it and shrug it off me. It knocked out a deer. That's like knocking out a house. They don't stand a chance against a mountain lion.
It's like a freaking horror story, right? You come back around, it's just like, I came back for it, morons. This just makes me feel really dumb holding this now. Because my thought at the beginning the whole time was, I'd rather, it's all about sticking it in the eye or something. And this
or the throat or the ear or whatever.
Right. But, okay. Enough talking about that.
People survive it all the time.
Yeah. Wait, you said
just don't get knocked out or don't get your neck broken with the first blow.
Well, that's the creepy thing is how they get you is they wait at like neck height until you're past, and then they come by and ideally they just right on the back of your neck and you never even know it and you're just dead all of a sudden. So
I mean, you're heir to the throne for king of obstacles. Your reflexes are pretty fast.
That's true.
You could dodge a mountain lion.
Wait, heir to the throne. Who currently has it?
I mean, you're no Mac.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see at the 100-meter championships. God, I'm so excited for that. What I'm really excited about is lining up next to Beefcake himself in DC after all the who flung poo has been happening with Isaiah.
Yeah, so Isaiah got discussed in our last episode. Got debated upon, is he a dirty racer? Is he a cheater? Is he a misunderstood enigma? And
should we review the scoreboard on who the moderator deemed the winner of that argument?
He deemed you were the winner. You can have that one.
But
it wasn't a super high ground I had to defend.
Yeah.
But there was some, I wouldn't call it blowback, but there were some ramifications of this episode. The first is that we started receiving a lot of messages from, I'd call them elite racers. Mm-hmm. Not only elite, but guys who have been top 10 at world championships. And they've started sharing their own stories of things they've witnessed on the course. The other side is that obviously, Isaiah's not super happy. You've had some snarky posts you've put online. Kempson had a not at all subtle post where he called him out. And I feel it's only appropriate that if we're willing to say something negative about someone, we also be willing to give them a platform in order to rebut us. In the U.S., in the court of law, you have the right to face your accuser, right? And I think that most good podcasts and interviewers out there will say truths about people, but also have the door open for them to come on and say their piece, defend themselves, and try to sway the public opinion. So go ahead.
So Isaiah, as such, if you are listening, if you even listen anymore after last episode, if you were even listening at that point, we would love to have you on. It's not going to be we are here to attack you. It's for whatever you want. You can answer any of the stories. You can explain them. You can explain yourself. You can defend. You can do anything you want. The point is it gives you a chance to have a voice on the same platform that was talking a lot about you specifically. So we won't be pulling any punches, however. I will go over every single one of these claims and we'll say, look, this is what was said. Brakken has been a part of several of these. So, and there's been a lot of eyes on. It's been way too consistent for you to say it hasn't happened. So, what do you have to say about it? And I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm not here to necessarily cut you down or anything, but, just to let you have a place to be able to talk about what's been said. So if you want,
there's everyone's perspective and there's the truth. And, it doesn't always line up exactly with one side or the other. And we've obviously said our side, and we'd be remiss if we didn't allow him to say his. So yeah, we're not going to whitewash it away, say, come on and we'll pump you up. But we also aren't going to come on and like spring a trap or anything. We just want to have like some open dialogue about this and let it go. So anyways, today I reached out to Isaiah and sent him a message and said basically that like, hey, I've seen some social media posts that have been pretty negative towards you since this. And we definitely talked in an unflattering manner on the podcast. So you are more than welcome to come on and have your chance to say your piece. So maybe by the time this airs, we'll already have had a little bit of conversation and he'll hopefully agree to come on. I hope he understands that this isn't a slam job towards him, but I think that he probably would benefit from coming on here and giving people a perspective as to why these occurrences have happened. So hopefully we see that. What that also brings up is that some of the messages we've received are, hey, but what about this person? Or what about this company? Or what about this brand? And there seems to be a bit of a desire out there to talk a bit about this is going to be dramatic, the underbelly of OCR, right? I don't know if there's an underbelly, but there are certainly things that happen that aren't on the up and up. And so Benny and I are taking that under advisement right now. We're going to consider if we want to have a semi-reoccurring theme of talking about some of the less glamorous aspects of this. And then also, again, always offering people the opportunity, whether it's a brand or a company or a person, to come on and rebut anything that's been said and share their side of it. So if that is something you are interested in, absolutely leave us feedback, and also leave some tips on the hotline, who you want to hear about, companies you do want to know more about, or negative interactions. For example, like not getting paid by races, getting stiffed by sponsors, or sponsors getting stiffed by athletes, things that shouldn't be going on, but that with just a little bit of a call to action could eliminate that.
What about people deceiving sponsors on their actual level of competitiveness? And then, what do you think?
Yeah, so what we want to be careful of is we don't just turn this into a TMZ, right? Or a Springer show where we just like come on and be like, gotcha. Right. Someone walks into their kitchen like, who are you expecting to find here? 13-year-old girl. Like we're not looking to surprise people with this gotcha type of media. But I do feel like this is a realm of media, and we do have a responsibility to talk about real things, not just like always talk about getting a pump and what your favorite workout is. So like if someone is deceptive, I think that can be talked about. We're not looking to out people per se, but we are looking to improve the overall world of OCR. And if that has to be done by talking about some of the negative things that could be eradicated, I think we're more than willing to do that. If you have things you want to hear about, let us know. If you are ever talked about, and I think this is a blanket statement that needs to be made and people should understand, if you're ever referred to negatively on here, just know that it's not personal. We're in a weird place where Benny and I both straddle the world of trying to do something with media / like journalism in some realm, and also being active in the sport that we're providing media for. And so that's always strange. Using the Isaiah thing as an example, it's odd to talk about, real truth or facts that have seemed to presented themselves, and then also line up against them and race against them in 2 weeks and have to interact for an entire day there. That's a strange position to be in.
Yeah.
So our hope is that we are able to be pretty distant and impersonal in the way we discuss it on here. And we know there's going to be ruffled feathers at times, but like everyone, like there's, as cliche as it sounds, an open door policy that if you ever feel slighted or you feel, I don't know, disparaged by us, that you have always the open door policy to come in and have your say, and that it doesn't have to be an attacking type thing. You don't have to feel attacked. We can't change the way you feel about if anything's ever negative said about you, but we definitely want to hear it. And I think that the audience and the OCR community will be healthier for having both sides presented. So in the future, anyone who's ever slighted, not that we plan on going on this rampage, but come on the show. Let's talk about it.
For sure. Just like Brakken and Beni on a massacre of the OCR elite force. But this does make me think about one of the points I've been wanting to bring back into the Pood that was not here ever since Ben Greenfield left, because Hunter was like, it's the Wild West. We do whatever the hell we want. We don't give a damn about your ratings. Hey, we do actually. We would like to know. We don't care so much about the rating, but we want feedback. So if you guys could, whatever platform you're listening to it on, whether it's Podcast Addict or Spotify, actually, I don't think we're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever. YouTube, right? If you could leave a review, with obviously all of them require the star thing. So we would love 5 stars, but don't give us 5 stars if you don't feel like we've earned it. But most importantly, give us like an actual like paragraph or sentence on some feedback, what you guys want to see in here. You can submit your questions on the website as usual. But one thing we're really wanting to kick off are actual reviews. So the reason we're doing a one-on-one podcast here with Brakken and I again is because that's been our number one, as far as numbers and downloads go, episode that we've had in a long time. So we figured, okay, they like it, but all we've got is numbers to go off of. We don't have actual concrete feedback. So go to whatever you're listening to, the platform, and just leave us a review.
All right. So Beni, one thing that we're both excited about is the Obstacle Dominator training plan. And that is coming up not too far in the future. And I think it's time to do what the Obstacle Dominator intro actually says. Your number one stop for blah, 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 and obstacle training tips.
Wait, Brakken, you don't know the words, do you?
I'm not trying to quote that, but what I'm saying is that in our intro, it says we provide obstacle racing training tips.
We
haven't talked training in a while.
That's true. That is true.
So in honor of our own intro and in honor of our own training guide that's coming out, I think we should talk a little bit of training here. Give people some nuts and bolts and science.
Okay. Yeah, you just posted, maybe you want to kick it off. You just posted your hour of fitness test from this year, and compared to last year, you had, was it like a 30-second increase or something?
Yeah, it was the overall workout showed that the time was only like a 12-second improvement, but that's with warm up and cool down included. So with the actual 19.1 mile bike route I did, it was like 1:55 difference. I just pedaled slower afterwards. I got pumped and I just cruised all the way home afterwards. So yeah, I had a really nice improvement on my basically 1 hour bike time trial, but it was just under a 20 miler. So like what would it be, like 32K bike. It's not the 40K bike time trial that cycling purists would want, but it's 19 miles around the lake. It's simple, it's easy, it's repeatable. So I did it last September, in my lead up to Killington and Tahoe. So I was in very good endurance shape. I was in the best shape I'd been in all year round. I was peaking and building for that specific time period. This was 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half prior to Killington, and I just hit it all out. And today, on my first outdoor ride of the year and my baseline time trial, I beat that time by about 1:50. So I was really pumped up about that. And it's a very hilly loop. The terrain in this area of Wisconsin isn't mountainous, but where the glaciers came through, you get some sediment deposits there, and it turns into a very rolling loop around that lake. And so the middle portion of it is so hard to keep. Like there's this hill where like you're doing great if you're in double-digit mile per hour. It just kills your time. So my goal has always been to average 20 miles per hour for the entire loop. There's times where you're holding 28, 30 and going downhill at 40 because it's wide open and easy, but that middle section of rolling hills kills it. So my best was like 19.7.
This is road, not like mountain bike.
Road. Yeah, it's road. And today I got like 20.3. So I finally hit the goal of averaging 20 miles per hour on that, which isn't a fast average, but on that terrain, it's not bad.
Yeah.
So I was pumped. So basically what I've been doing all off season has been paying off, where I'm picking up at the early end of this season ahead of where my fitness was last season.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the whole goal, isn't it? You progress throughout the year so that you can start off in a better spot than you started last year at.
Yeah. And not only that, I'm starting at a better spot than I left off last year, which doesn't normally happen. And because of my injury and lack of training to start last year, I got a foot up this year. But yeah, I was ecstatic to see that. But I paid for it. My legs were, because I've been spinning a little bit, but I haven't biked. And my legs were jello and quivering for like an hour afterwards.
How are you with mountain biking? Like, are you a skilled mountain biker?
Nope. When I went out to Colorado, I bought a mountain bike. My brother and I bought mountain bikes when we got out there. And the very first day, I just took it up Gold Camp Road, back in there. And then when I got to the top, I ran into this guy who was biking. He looked fit. I was like, hey, man, this is my first day up here. Where would you recommend I go? He's like, how's your engine? I'm like, the engine's pretty good. The skills on the bike are not that good. He's like, follow me up this one. I'm going to head to the top here. So we went up to the top, and Captain Jack's? Were you down at Captain Jack's?
Is that just north of Columbine?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we went up to the top of there, and I was able to, my cornering in and out of switchbacks wasn't great, but I was able to, my leg, I was fit. So I was able to keep churning on the way up, and we turned and started down, and I just pieced out. I realized my skills are so lacking on my bike handling and downhills that it is not even remotely safe for me to go down this thing. And I just rode the brakes the entire way down, and like my feet were off the pedals, dragging on the ground on every turn. It was pathetic. Someone like Ryan Atkins, who is a highly successful downhill mountain biker, would have been embarrassed for what I was doing. But I got to the bottom, and my brakes, I have disc brakes on this thing. They were just burning hot because I milked them the whole way. And that was the last day I did it. I realized my desire for speed is so far lagging behind my skill on the bike that it's not worth it. So I would, from then on, anytime I biked, I'd climb up the steep stuff and just really grind on the uphill. And then I'd turn and I'd take the fire road down.
Nice. Well, I think I had a different introduction to mountain biking that gave me a different experience. I think if you would have had the same introduction, you would have come to the same loving conclusion to mountain biking as I have. I'm not huge on flying downhill. It's fun, but to me, the injury risk ratio is not there. I love downhill that's really technical, and it's constantly weaving and turning and tight turns so that your top speed's never really that fast, where if you fall off, you're actually like, there's an edge of fear, but it's not like that, oh my gosh, I'm going to die type feeling. Because out here, in Texas, there's almost no elevation. It's just learning how to navigate extremely technical, like just like biking through a boulder field that's got a stream rolling through it. And then there's like a 3-foot drop off and extremely steep boulders and things like that. And that's a lot more of like a skill stimulus than I'm not really big into the high speed stuff. So maybe with it being more flat out in Wisconsin, you can find some technical trails and go out there. I don't use mountain biking for training anymore unless it's just active recovery, because it's so hard when you go off trail to keep in any one particular goal. Like trying to stay in like a aerobic zone, it's basically impossible if you have undulating terrain and different sections that require different levels of skill set and stuff like that. But I miss mountain biking. I haven't done it in a very long time.
Yeah. What I know is that every one of my friends and any person I know who's serious about biking eventually has a catastrophic injury, a serious injury. Everyone that I know who's a serious biker at some point breaks their clavicle or something in their shoulder or has a concussion and has it's just, to me, because OCR matters, my biking can't. I use it as a tool, but I find myself sticking to road biking at off-peak hours of the day where I'm not going to encounter many people on the road. And the only thing that could go wrong is if I lose control of the bike, but I just don't put myself in a situation to do that. So
Or
when I'm
mountain
done with
lion
OCR,
knock
I'll
you
get
out.
into that. I just can't juggle the risk right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm the same. I kind of gave up longboarding right when I started getting a lot more back into it, just because I was starting to downhill a lot like I used to. And there's a reason I'm so slow on stadium races, and it's because we're on concrete. I'm not willing to take risks on concrete. That's why I'd rather do, if somebody told me you can do road biking forever or mountain biking forever, I would definitely pick mountain biking, because one, there's no cars. I don't got to worry about other people out there. Which, dude, that scares the crap out of me. I drive around here in Dallas, which is not a super bicycle-friendly place, but I'm right next to, I don't know what I'm right next to, but there's constantly packs of like 50 to 100 bikers out on this road I live next to. And I mean, I'm a very attentive driver, and even I, half the time, am like getting real close to these people. And I don't know, no matter what bright colored thing, all it takes is one person looking down at their phone for more than like 2 seconds and, I don't know, changing lanes. To me, it's just, the risk reward is not there.
Yeah, it's terrifying to me. And I had a guy pull out in front of me on this lake loop last fall. I was doing a recovery ride, but coming down this one hill, like, you can't keep it under 30 miles per hour unless you're on your brakes. It's just a good long hill. You come down, you whip through this downtown right along the lake, and it's a 3-way stop, and 2 sides have stop signs, and you don't coming down through. So you have right away. And it's because it's a tourist town, they're just not used to it, and people always blow through it. And this person looked out. I swear I locked faces with this person. I nodded at him. I didn't get anything back. And then he pulled out. So he clearly didn't see me, but I thought he had. So I didn't feather the brake at all. And suddenly he was just in my path. And I just hit his car with my hand and grabbed onto his spoiler. And I skitched, essentially. And my front tire got real loose and started wobbling. And it took me into the car. And luckily, I had a good grip on the spoiler. And I didn't go down, but I was going probably like 34, 35 miles per hour. I had a helmet on, but like that's not going to protect the rest of me. And that moment I realized, like, that's the last time I ever bike on the road during like normal traffic hours. So it's either going to be in the morning before the rush or throughout the day at some point where the cars aren't on the road. Because in that moment, I just realized, oh, this is not worth it to be out here. I could be on the spin bike right now. Not as enjoyable, but very, very conducive to not getting hurt before my next race.
Did he stop or realize that you would hit his car or anything?
Yeah, he freaked out, and then he pulled over in front of me and like got off the side of the road, but like, he was in front of me. He just made another bad choice on top of bad choice. Right. And like literally maybe 100 meters later, I drove past a cop who was sitting off in this little pullout, just trying to get these tourists who come by too fast along the lake. They just make their living off it. And I thought, oh yes. He saw the whole thing, and this guy's going to get ticketed. And I just looked, and the cop looked at me and looked back, and then just sat there, and he had missed the entire thing. I was going to see some instant karma, and it didn't happen.
Oh man, you need to have a bike camera. That would have been a perfect, well, I guess not perfect instant karma moment.
It would have looked super impressive. Like I was on the edge of going down, and my front wheel was out of control, and I got lucky is what I got. I don't think there's much I did.
That speed wobble, which it may not be what you had. It sounds like you actually had some kind of like damage or something too.
It was no different. It was speed wobble.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I lost any interest I had. I grew up racing endurocross, which is just dirt biking on mountain bike trails, essentially, for miles and miles. And I lost any interest I had for speed when I was, I think, 14, and I was flying down this out here in Texas. The ground just cracks, and the cracks go for hundreds and hundreds of yards at a time, and they're crisscrossing and stuff, and they're just big enough to, if you were to hit it just right, for a dirt bike tire to go right into them. And they're not super deep or anything, but they're a few feet deep. And I'm flying down this path right next to a fence, because that's where the trail has me. It's like a barbed wire fence. And all of a sudden the ground starts to do this crisscrossy crack thing. And because of the instability of the terrain and how fast I was going, and I guess I was still fairly inexperienced with this particular stimulus that the bike was experiencing, I was putting too much weight on the front tire. And so it started doing this This at like 40, 50 miles per hour flying when you're 14 is absolutely.
For those of you not watching YouTube, Benny's doing the baby shark movement.
Oh, right. I forgot that not everybody listens. Is this Baby Shark?
Come on, you know Baby Shark.
No, dude, I've only heard like 2 seconds of the Baby Shark, doo-doo-doo-doo. And then I love kid stuff, but I want to blow my brains out when I hear that song, so I don't actually know what it is.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, come on, Bracken. You know the dance and everything. You got 3 kids. What is it?
I sing it every day.
Okay, are you going to tell me what it is? It's from a TV show or what?
Slap a diaper on and I'll sing it to you.
I have some diapers downstairs, actually. I could do that for you, but I don't think the listeners. Well, my dog is old and needs diapers. So anyways,
Okay.
Not my dog, mine. Anyways, so
Your roommate's dog.
my roommate's dog.
Yeah.
So it starts doing the speed wobble, and somehow I don't eat shit, but that was the last experience I had to have with top end speed. It's just not that exhilarating for me anymore.
Gotcha. So biking this off season, this past 2 weeks with my hammy issues, has reignited this desire in me that like has been like smoldering for a year now that I just did not ever expect to get. And that is my desire to do endurance racing, true endurance racing. I've been thinking like, I want to do an Ironman, but what that's coincided with, Benny, is my desire to do an Ultra Beast. So with my training last week, coming off City Field, I had scripted out my next very many weeks into the future. And it was week 1 of prepping for an Ultra Beast simultaneously with short course prep. I believe both can be done at the same time, and I'm out to prove it this year. But I've had last fall, I just had this desire to do the Killington Ultra Beast, and I couldn't do it. I just was not in any condition to do that. I've cramped before, and I don't want to do that again. I've bonked and cramped on a course, and it was just the worst. And I never thought I'd want to do this, but I just got this irrational desire to do an Ultra Beast. So I got through Killington, I did Tahoe, and it didn't really go away. I like fell asleep for a little bit, but I could hear it snoring in the background there. And all off season, during my longer runs and during my tempos, I kept catching myself like daydreaming about an Ultra Beast. And so finally I just decided like, this is an itch that needs to be scratched appropriately. And so I am full bore, full speed ahead, training for an Ultra Beast and the Stadium Series right now.
Are you going to announce when or which one you're doing?
I'm not.
No. Okay.
It will be in the second half of the year. It'll be a fall Ultra Beast. So that leaves the options would be what? Ohio, Killington, Tahoe, Texas, and South Carolina.
Okay.
So it's one of those. And that's it. I want
South
it to be
Carolina?
at the start line. South Carolina has one. Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds like it would be gorgeous. Well, hold on. Is it
I guess Hawaii's in the mix. I'd go do anything in Hawaii.
Is it East South Carolina?
Like the east side of South Carolina?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess that was.
But anyways, so and we're talking training. Last Friday, I had scheduled on the schedule my first. It's not necessarily a time trial, but it's a fitness indicator run. In the past, running. So I did my bike around the lake, which is 19 miles. But if you run the lake path, these millionaire homes surround the lake. The entire lake, you can't find a home under $1 million. There's, upwards of, $75 million for the big homes. It's crazy. Like there's crazy money on this lake, but the ordinance of all the properties there states that they have to maintain a public walkway along the edge of their yard along the lake. So there is a lake path that's public accessible through everybody's backyard on the lake. And it's awesome because there's no rules other than it must be accessible. So some people just leave it grass. Some people will put paving stones. Some people put like a footbridge. Some people it's stairs going up around their boathouse. Some people it's sand. Some people let it overgrow and just leave a barely passable single track through, a little forested area. So it's constantly changing terrain, but it is 21.3 miles around the lake. So 4 times in my life I've run that. And so I went out last Friday and gave her hell. got out there and ran it. And that was my first official long run of my Ultra Beast prep. So that's where I'm at right now.
Where'd you start feeling it? About mile 19?
Well, the last time I did it was in December. And I had done a lot of long threshold work, and I'd done some long runs, and I felt it at mile 20 and a half, just the last half mile.
Oh, nice.
I felt fatigue, obviously, but like I felt those weird twinges and like your nerves kind of firing weird down your hip and your stride feeling like you have to concentrate on running correctly that last half mile. And this time I felt it at 14.
Oh, geez. Oh,
it was interesting because I'm in much better fitness now, but I was in more specific long run fitness then. I'd spent the last 3.5 weeks doing stadium stuff, and then I spent the last 10 days not running other than the race at City and then spinning. So
okay, so
I just wasn't used to the pounding.
So I've heard you say this several times. You say I'm in the best like stadium fitness. I'm the most fit I've ever been. Hobie used to have these workouts that he would say, look, if I hit these parameters leading into world championships, I know I'll win. Or he could say that for any race. What do you have workouts like that or numbers that you hit, or is it a feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the metrics I have is this around the lake. It's 21.3 miles and it's semi-technical terrain. There's like 400 feet of gain throughout it. It's not a ton of gain, but it's enough that they're short little up and downs. It throws you never have a real rhythm. You're doing stairs. There's probably 200 total stairs throughout it. There's 90-degree turns. There's switchback. It's all broken. So the pace is like 20 to 30 seconds slower per mile than what you get on a flat, smooth road. But anyways, I have that. I've run it 4 other times. I know like that's my endurance predictor. I have 3 or 4 different stadium predictors. I have the fan bike 5K. That is a trademark patent pending. It starts with a 15 calorie air bike into an 800 meter run. And you do that 6 times, then finish with a 200 meter run at the end to get the full 5K. And I have my times that I know I need to be able to hit on there. And then I have a couple other simulators that I run where I know if I'm hitting X range, I'm good. And then the simplest and most uncomfortable one is just the solo 5K time trial.
Mm.
I have 3 different grass or trail cross country style 5Ks that I can do, or I can go to a track, and I have my historical data for all of them. And I know if I can run X time on the track, I am in maybe 85% max capacity.
Oh, come on, Bracken, give us the juicy beats. Quit saying X. What's the time?
Okay, so if I can go and run sub 17 on a track, I'm in, that's kind of like base fitness for me. If I can run like 16:45 to 17 flat, like I probably haven't been doing much lately. And if I can run under 16:40, I am in very passable. I'm in good enough shape to race a national series race. And if I can run 16:20 or under solo on a track, then I'm in shape to go make a podium just about anywhere I go race, if it's 6 miles or less.
Okay.
And these all have effort parameters there. I'm not allowed to sprint, at the end. I'm not allowed to do any crazy pickups. It's just keeping my max effort I can keep the whole time without ever racing.
Wait, why that distinction that like you're not allowed to just like run really hard the last 100 meters to shave off time?
Because it's not super repeatable. I want these to be repeatable, so I run them at the same effort and pain level the whole time. And if I look at my watch and I've been having kind of a crappy run and I'm 600 meters from the finish and I'm like, oh, I'm on pace for 16:45, and I run the next half lap in 38 seconds, I run the final lap in 59 seconds, suddenly I've run 16:30 and I'm feeling good about myself. But in reality, my fitness told me I was on pace for 16:45 that day. And it skews it throws it off. If I want to know my actual what can I race, I jump in a race. And then I know like if I can run 16:45 or under, I'm fit. I'm just not a super high-end 5K guy. So 15:45 and under in a race, I know I can go race, OCR race with everyone. But in a time trial, I try not to have any spikes in effort because I want it to just be super repeatable.
I find myself grasping for that feeling and that intent anytime I've done a 5K time trial is I'm like, I want to ride this pain as much as I can. If I start thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to maintain this, I'll drop I would rather drop the miles per hour down, like 0.1 or 2 for as long as I can. And then I try and go at the absolute highest I can for the entire time. But doesn't it equal out to the same thing? Like if you're able to kick, that means that mentally maybe you just were weaker that day and just weren't on board with what your body actually physically can do because it resulted in this time. So it's really just like where you kicked.
Possibly. But then I would have to kick every time. Every single time I'd have to kick from the same distance out with the same intensity level in order to get equivalent efforts. And maybe I'm nitpicking. I'm sure there are people who don't do it that way, where they leave it all on the table. The way I look at a time trial, I should be able to do it 3 times in the same week with the same result.
Okay.
So I should be able to do it Monday, Thursday, Sunday, and hit the same result all 3 times. And maybe going into the last one, I have to dig a little deeper, but it should be at that like more closer to that 95% effort than that 100%. A race, I can't race the same race 3 times in a week. I'd be lucky if I could do it twice in a week, but at time trial, I feel like I could repeat it for 5, 6 straight weeks and get better each time if my fitness is improving. Whereas if I raced all out every single week, I may or may not be able to.
Okay, that makes sense.
I could do that time trial is my quality day twice a week for 5 weeks and probably not have burnout because I'm not quite going to the well. I would never do that, but like I want it to be sustainable.
Right. So I've got a 5K time trial retest coming up soon, and I'm ridiculously excited about it. I don't get as excited. I get nervous with time trials. I don't get nervous or anxious with races almost ever. But when it comes to time trials, I think that's what most people experience.
Killers mentally. Why is that? I find myself like delaying and procrastinating that day. Like, oh man, this is going to hurt. Even though I'm not sprinting at the end, like it hurts. Running 95% effort is not easy. It hurts. And you're all by yourself. And the only thing keeping you on the track laps 8 through 12 is whatever reason you have for going out there. Well, I have to call people. I call Kirk and I call Mike Ferguson on the way to my time trials. And I'm like, hey boys, I'm jumping on the track for a 5K. And Kirk's like, oh, okay. Accountability partner, huh? I'm like, yep. He's like, what are you going out at? I'm like, all right, I'm going to go out at 5:12 today. He's like, all right, you better not go out in 70 and you better not step off the track at 8. I'll be waiting for your call in an hour. Like I have to do that because otherwise I'm going to get to lap 8 and be like, well, I went out a little quick and it's kind of compromised my, I should probably do this again in a few, like all these excuses start popping in because it's so miserable to do it alone. So dude, I actually have to like build up a support system to get these time trials done.
I have like opposite reasoning going on. I absolutely like, while I'm like anxious and nervous for them, I'm ridiculously excited at the same time, not in the same ratio that I am with races. Usually excitement is like 98% and nervous and anxiety make up the other 2%. That's a flipped equation here, but it's never because of the pain that I'm gonna have to go through or how much it's going to suck. It's always, there are no other variables. It's just me against me. And if I'm not faster than I was when I did this, 8 to 15 weeks ago, then there's no excuses. You suck and you have been doing something wrong and you've been not wasting your time, but you didn't make the progress that you thought you were going to. So it's kind of like there are no like, it's not me versus other people maybe having a bad day or me having a good day. But the 5K, I'm just straight up excited about that one. I get really nervous about the mile for some reason, but the 5K, it's just the right level of pain that, I don't know, leaves me in that range of like angry, fired up, like, let's go. I'm like wasting breath. Say, come on, motherfucker. On the mile, I'm just dead the whole time. And it's kind of just like just make it across the finish line. So I'm really freaking pumped about seeing if I can break 17. If I do, in a year, I will have broken 18 and broken 17 for the first time. And I'm ridiculously excited about that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we're both kind of at that like turning point of our seasons here where we're getting done with putting in the, what would we call it? The supportive work, the work that you put in before you put in your work, You've been putting in the work necessary to get comfortable running at race pace, to get comfortable running speed, to get comfortable running some tempos, to get comfortable running some volume. Like you're putting in the work that comes before the work. Yeah. And I was putting in a lot of long threshold work, a lot of long OCR intervals, but that were more like at super race pace, stuff that's not damaging, but gets you ready for the work that's to come. And we're both about to start that next stage where I'm going to start really raising up my volume, getting long in my workouts, long in my runs, extra sharp and fast on my stadium days to keep from dulling myself with all this endurance work that I'm doing. And you're going to start getting more and more specific with your race calendar and start training towards races rather than training towards improving skills like running speed or efficiency. You're going to start getting a lot more of your uphill and climbing work, not just endurance, but speed. And so we're at that point where it's not that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it's that we're entering the tunnel.
Yeah.
We were at base camp, and now we're looking at the tunnel, and it's exciting to enter the tunnel. The tunnel gets long after a while, but now we're finally entering the damn tunnel. And there's something cool about that, isn't there?
Dude, I get so jacked up. Like every year, I just get more and more excited about OCR and training and fitness because I get more and more educated. Like the past 8 months has got to be the first time I have felt completely knowledgeable about what I was doing, and that I understood the reasoning behind everything. And I was like, okay, it makes sense, everything I'm doing to me. Like I'm not just like doing stuff and watching my fitness grow. I actually know why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I'm supposed to do. And so it's even more exciting. This has happened. I've noticed this throughout my life. Ever since I was 14 I had my first job when I was 14. And from the time I was 14 to 18, I had 16 different jobs. And my ex used to say I had like a commitment issue. And I was like, no. That's not the point of when you're.
No, she's your ex.
Yeah, my ex.
Maybe she was right.
The point when you're a teenager is not to find the job you're going to have the rest of your damn life. It's to try out a million things, find out what you like and find out what you don't like. And I did exactly that. But part of that was I got used to experiencing different skill sets and what it takes to do those skill sets. And because of that, I have noticed in myself a heightened admiration and what's the word? I don't know, like things wow me more than I think they do a lot of people, because I've dallied a little bit in each one of these skill sets, and I know how much it takes to do what these people are doing. Like, for example, lighting and film. The amount of freaking work it takes just to make the lighting in your room or whatever your shot is perfect is enough to rip your hair.
What are you having people light up in your room that you're filming?
Hey, we all know that this is where I throw down my underground mud wrestling career, and also where my premium Snapchat account goes down. So,
okay, that's fair.
But no, this is I have a box light in here that's left over from when I was doing Benny's breakdown with OCRM, which at some point I just got, there was nothing wrong with OCRM or anything. It just started becoming a thing that was like a knife hanging over my head every week. Like, come on, Benny, you got to do Benny's breakdown. And instead of it being something, I was like, oh yeah, what am I going to talk about today?
That's how I feel about Obstacle Dominator.
Yeah, no, dude, you're only, I think 10 episodes in and already like, oh God, Lisa.
Oh, we're not even at 10.
No, we're at, I think, no, this is either 10 or 11.
This might be one of our biggest shortcomings. Neither of us know what episode we're on.
Well, I know I'm right. I'm going to
I'm pulling up Instagram.
I'm going to put the stamp down on 11. So I was saying all that to say that with fitness, the same thing is happening.
Speaking of Kevin Gelati, I just opened up Instagram to check this, and it's him riding his tri-bike on rollers. Do you know what rollers are?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's totally unstable. Him riding it one-handed while clutching a puppy to his chest.
He's got a pistol on the other hand too.
No, but like of all the random things to see, this man's riding on rollers holding a dog.
There you are, Kevin. Hey, you never called me Kevin. Call me to tell me what I can do with this knife or what I can do differently. But I was saying all that to say that I now have like
crap. Jack was episode 9.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so we're 10. So I was wrong about 11. Right? Yeah. We
were both wrong.
But I was closer.
You were, well, I mean, I said 8.
Yeah, but
shut up.
I mean, if we're going by Jeopardy rules, I lose. Or not Jeopardy. What is it when you have to
Price
guess?
Is Right.
Yeah, and if you go over the top, every time I go to Costco, I play that game with the money. I'm always wrong, and it's always a sad type of wrong.
So I interrupted you. continue on.
Okay. Well, I was just
in
saying,
your bedroom.
I get super pumped about the training because now I know the purpose of every workout and I get to watch the actual dividends that it pays in my training. And just to be clear, because I realize this might be confusing to some people, Brakken and Yancey are both coaching me. I don't think you need to like play into this barrel of like being pigeonholed with one training modality.
Menage coach.
Exactly. Like I've done running assessment and taken some coaching stuff from Richard Diaz. I have, had Hunter not coach me necessarily, but I just basically did everything Hunter was doing.
You?
Huh?
Bully you?
Well, he did bowl me into the gym. It just happened to be the thing I needed at the time for TMX. So that was perfect. But no, so I like taking training modalities from all these different coaches. Brakken, I'm doing a stint with Brakken focused on running and building my aerobic foundation and putting the sharpening edge on that. And Yancey is what keeps me an absolute obstacle beast, and why no matter how fast I get or how hard I'm breathing, I'll always be able to dive out onto an obstacle with no fear and take up seconds on people. Unless
I'll tell you what, the great thing about Yancey is that he's open to this. Like there's no such thing as an egoless person, but he can approach these types of things with no ego. Like that. I think it's super rare to find someone's like, hey, you know what you should do? Is go work with someone else as well.
Right.
How many people in a relationship would be like, I really like dating you, and I think what you should also do is find someone else that makes you happy too. That's not going to happen. So like all the credit, I love Yancey, and I love working with him in any way, shape, or form, because he is someone who is about the outcome, not about his income. You like that line?
No, I do.
That's a good line.
Sounds like I don't know, like some kind of book title, or it's the
line. Trademark it.
Trademark TM. I don't think it works like that. You can't. It's not like Michael Scott. You can't just shout.
I declare bankruptcy.
I'm so glad you got that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I like The Office.
Dude, it's fantastic.
Lisa and I are gonna go watch The Office a little bit after this. Have a little Aldi wine.
Dude, it's timeless. I was literally while I was waiting for your late ass to show
I think
up.
it goes bad after a while. Aldi wine's good, but I wouldn't call it timeless.
What, The Office?
No, the Aldi wine.
What? I don't know what you're saying. What is that?
You've never had a wine from Aldi?
Is that wine from
what Aldi is?
No. What?
Oh,
Aldi's like a grocery store.
And then some.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I also don't drink alcohol because it's disgusting. I drink Fireball though.
So you drink alcohol?
No. Fireball's on a different level.
I don't drink alcohol. I just drink super potent alcohol.
No, I don't. Dude, alcohol is disgusting. So I'm either partying or I'm not drinking at all because it tastes nasty. So why the hell would I sip it?
Fair enough.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you have anything to say to that, you are lying to yourself and everybody else. Again, one of the reasons she's now my ex, she used to always say this. She's like, it's an acquired taste. If you just drink it enough, you'll like it. And I'm like, okay, let me switch that argument. Butt sex, if you just have a lot of it, eventually you'll like it. So let's just do it. Yeah, no, it doesn't.
You have to convince me, Benny. But anyways, I will say, I scoffed at the idea of an acquired taste until it happened with me. I thought beer was really bad, and like the fourth time having it, I felt like, well, you know what? This is weird. I think I like this. And the same thing with wine, red wine. Early on, I was like, this is really bad. I'll have some like Arbor Mist. It's just like Capri Sun with alcohol. And then eventually, it just kind of. I was at Kevin Donahue's brother's house in California. He hosted us the night before one of the Temecula races. We were just sitting out there watching the sunset. He made us some steaks and he poured some glasses of red wine. I'm like, this kind of feels right. Like, let's just roll with this. And it was delicious. And I thought, okay, maybe there is a thing to this acquired taste. Now, my argument prior to that was, why would you want to go through the break-in period? But why would you want to go through the break-in period of a pair of shoes or with the learning the ropes of a new relationship? Because the payoff on the other side, Benny, is so, so sweet.
Yeah, putting poison in your body, excessive.
Let's not cross the poison in your body line yet, Benny. We'll save that for another episode.
Right.
So anyways, training. You're loving the fact that you understand your purpose for every workout. And I think that's super powerful, because as soon as you understand why you're doing it and what the intended outcome is, you can attack the workout the correct way rather than just leave everything out there on the road or on the track or on the trail or I just don't know if I should hurt too bad today. You know how bad you should hurt because you know what your intended outcome is.
For sure. Yeah. No, 100%. And it's also made it so that today when I went out for my 45-minute run, it's after, like a high quality, high intensity day like yesterday, where I now have further clarity, understanding of the purpose of each run. My heart rate never went above, I think, 130 today during my run. And that's 15, 16 beats underneath my aerobic foundation or my aerobic base heart rate zone. And normally I would have finished that workout, or I would have been in the workout the whole time going, oh, what the hell? Come on. Why do I feel so bad today? Instead of, just sneaking in some work while recovering, I would have been damaging myself. You put it perfectly the other day in a way that I've never heard it said that drove it home in a clear way, which is, you do these workouts that cause damage, just like with muscle breakdown when you're lifting, and then your muscle recovers and repairs that damage so that that same level of stimulus can never hurt you again. But if you add damage while it's still recovering, then you're either prolonging the process or just completely destroying the process.
Yeah. I love the idea of a house in a hurricane. So like let's say I'm a Midwestern guy, right? So I moved down to Florida and I build a house right on the coast. Like I'm ready to retire and I build this house according to Midwest standards. I built a basement and I put in this house, and the first hurricane comes in and I flood and my windows get bashed in and my walls get knocked down. And that's basically your first race. Your basement floods in your first race or your first big workout, and your walls come crumbling down and you're trashed. And I look around afterwards and I'm like, these people down the block, they didn't have that happen. They have experience. I don't. Let's talk with them about it. And they're like, well, first thing you got to do is we don't have basements down here. We build our houses on stilts. So I build the house back up on stilts. And that's what's happening after your workout. You have to rebuild it in a correct way so that the next time that stimulus comes through, it doesn't knock your house down again. And, you build in shutters that you can shut and lock so that when these high winds come whipping through and things blow up against it, they don't shatter your windows. And all these things are future proofing for the storms you're going to hit, right? But if that hurricane comes through when you're halfway through your renovation, what happens? It doesn't matter how many tens of thousands of dollars you poured into that house. If your stilts aren't complete, and if your hurricane shutters aren't there, and if your siding is not hurricane proof, it's going to rip it all down anyways. The storm doesn't care,
right?
And all that work is for naught. And that's what working out is. You have to get your house repaired in order to withstand the next storm that hits it, and in order to withstand the next greater storm that's coming. Otherwise, you keep knocking down your repairs before they even get a chance to take hold.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think early on, when I was training with Yancey, I didn't understand a lot of the reasoning behind what I was doing, and so I would just add stuff on all the time. And because of that, I was still gaining in fitness, because there's a certain level of fitness you can continue to gain when you're getting beginners gains, when just anything you do is going to increase your fitness.
New gains are a real thing and they're powerful.
Yeah. And what's been exciting has been being able to see that in different aspects of training. Like, it's not just general fitness. You can have beginners gains in all the different little sinews and niche pieces of fitness. So like, I've been having runners beginners gains over the past like 4 or 5 months, because for the first time I'm training just really focused on running. And so I've been flying through my PR times where, that makes no sense if I actually thought about, oh yeah, I've been running for the past 4 years. Well, nah, you've been kind of doing a mixture and just in general getting your fitness higher and stuff like that. I'm not going to have those kind of beginners gains with obstacles or strength anymore, but I can with running. And so I'm super freaking excited about that.
Yeah. I love it. So with where you're going with your training, let's talk about the scope of your season, because I talked about the scope of mine. I'm training for an Ultra Beast in fall, and I'm training for the Stadium Series. I'm obviously, I know I've announced that I'm trying to win the Stadium Series and win an Ultra Beast in the same year. Like, for me, that's really mentally stimulating. That would be something that would like justify the work I put in, and it would be an absolute challenge. I feel like the longer we do things, the more the pursuit gets dulled if you don't have passion for it. And for whatever reason, that stupid goal of run an Ultra Beast win an Ultra Beast while winning the Stadium Series, like that has stoked the fires of my passion. So I want to do that. So like, what are you going towards?
Well, honestly, the number one goal, if I could just lay it all out there, is to just get mother effing Zevia to sponsor us already. I don't care.
This was unscripted. I like it.
I'll quit OCR. I'll do whatever it takes. Just sponsor me already, Zevia. No, I'm just kidding. I love this stuff.
You're not joking. You would quit OCR for a lucrative Zevia sponsorship.
I would quit it for Red Bull. Which, speaking of Red Bull, okay, I gotta bring this up. Nothing happened, but I will say that today I was running around my house half naked and screaming because Red Bull called me and they said, we've had our eye on you. And I was like, what the hell? What is that even like? That's crazy because I know Thomas Van Tonder in South Africa and Nikolai and Leon from Denmark. And they're both, or I know Thomas is Red Bull sponsored in OCR. And I talked to him about the process. He was like, how did they pick you? And he said, Red Bull keeps their eyes on people for like years before they even reach out to them. And so it's kind of like this, like, oh my God, are they watching thing? And Red Bull forever, since I even thought about being an athlete, has been my ideal brand to have any kind of connection with because their content, their company, everything. They're just
they're the single greatest example of just purely awesome content of any company I've ever seen.
Exactly. And so they reached out to me and they said they wanted me to come out and do the Red Bull 400, that really steep, where you go 400 meters straight up a ski jump. And
actually, my way.
Yeah, the one right near you. And
Copper Peak, right? Michigan.
Yeah. The downside is it's the same weekend as DC, which is one of the Stadium Series races. And so I told them, I was like, hey, I said everything I said to you. I was like, I have been diehard Red Bull as long as I can remember. And I'd kick the entire series to the curb if this was the beginning of some kind of relationship with you guys. And they said, no, there's no need to do that. Like, thank you for telling us that. This isn't like a once in a lifetime thing. They said we've had our eye on you. And I was like, I almost like shit my pants right there.
What website do you think they've had their eye on you on?
Oh, it might be my mud wrestling career. So we'll find out. But they said,
and here you are the next episode and I'm the one in the sleeveless sweatshirt.
Right.
How embarrassing is this going to be for you if this episode gets me a Red Bull sponsorship and they're like, we were looking for a guy without a t-shirt and you had a t-shirt on, Benny.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe I should be true to myself and go shirtless because if they've reached out to me, they've liked what I've been doing.
And I've always shirt off right now.
I've always been shirtless. This is for you, Red Bull. This is
that off.
You. Yeah. And my pink Babe hat. Yeah. Except Babe's wine and I don't really drink. Anyways, now I feel uncomfortable. So anyway.
Scope of your season. If the Red Bull thing was going to derail it, it was derailing the Stadium Series, right?
Yeah. Well, I decided, they said, don't worry about that. We have more events moving forward and stuff. We'll just collaborate with you moving forward. And I was like, okay, cool. So Stadium Series is kind of an experiment. It's not something I'm half-assing. I'm going 100% at it, but it is an experiment. But it is all supplemental to my focus, which for years since the inception of the 3K OCR World Championships, it's been my ultimate goal to win that. Now, I have projected that date of actually taking a stab at winning that at 2021, because I acknowledge as soon as I really started learning about endurance, it's not something you can just, go to the gym and get super strong in a year. It just takes years to develop. So focus is still on doing really well at NORAM 3K because it's a precursor to it. And then ultimate focus is on OCR Worlds at the end of the year, but I'll be doing some Conquer the Gauntlet because there's one right out my way. And it's just so much fun racing as hard as you can next to somebody like Victor, who's a really fast runner, but then getting into these obstacles that you never get to experience anymore now that Battle Frog's gone. But thankfully all my races, I'm not trying to span a wide gap like you are with the Ultra Beast and, the shortest course we have to offer, the Stadium Series. They're all in that sub 30-minute time range. The Stadium races are all that short. Unfortunately, the 3K is about half that time, but I don't really think it's taking away from my training at all to be fit for a 30-minute race. So, yeah.
Awesome. So these kind of things like training for a short course, training for supers, started my season off with the first two U.S. National Series races, and then training for Beast, training for Ultra Beast. Like these are the concepts that are woven into the obstacle dominator. Concepts of, race specificity and treating your recovery with the respect it needs and prioritizing your quality workouts and your progression throughout the year. This is the kind of stuff that the way that you and I are training right now is the exact language and the exact style of training that's built into this obstacle dominator training plan. So I'm excited to get that out into the hands of the obstacle dominator.
You know what I just realized? If you achieve your goal this year of winning an Ultra Beast and being the Stadium Series champ, I would love to just put that like how much of a testament is that to the training guide? It's like, look, the guy who wrote this knows what it takes to win at the longest course we have to offer, except for World's Toughest Mudder, which doesn't have prize money anymore, people, so it doesn't really count.
Spartan does have money on their 24-hour race in Iceland.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah,
so aside from the 24-hour races, which are extreme outliers, Bracken's got Bracken, assuming he wins both, which I think he can. Bracken, are you not sharing because you don't want Isaiah to show up, or maybe it's some old school Miguel Medina?
I'd be shocked if those guys are not at some of the big Ultra Beasts this year.
Okay.
I don't know what Isaiah's season looks like. He's obviously big right now because of his CrossFit emphasis, but he's been a powerhouse in the Beast Ultra scene in the past, and I wouldn't be shocked. The move of Tahoe, they flip-flopped the days of the championships.
Yeah.
The World Championship Beast is now on Sunday, and the Ultra Beast is Saturday, and what that does is that eliminates anyone who's thinking about trying to go top 10 day one and then come back like Isaiah's done. He took second one year after going top 10, taking 9th or 10th in the World Championship on Saturday. Ryan Atkins took second in the world one year and came back and won the Ultra Beast the next day. That option is now off the table. Anyone who's trying to go top 10 will not run an Ultra Beast the day before. What it does do is it opens up the door for anyone who's not in that top 10, mindset of a world beast, thinking, screw that, I'm going all in on Saturday. I know Ryan Atkins isn't going to be there. I know Killian Albin's not going to be there. So I actually think while it may take some of the cream off the top, it's going to strengthen the field as a whole. And I think like a Trevor or who else am I thinking of? Trevor Sizzles and I'm seeing his last name wrong. And I'm blanking on some of these guys, some of the world's toughest mudder people and people who are prepping for Iceland. I would be shocked if they don't show up to a Tahoe because, that's their bread and butter. And again, you don't have to race Atkins.
Yeah. That makes me think of two things. One is just real quick before I forget it is all this talk about Isaiah and cheating and things like that. It does not negate the time, what an absolute beast he is. It's almost frustrating that he has cheated so often because it's like, dude, you've already proven that you're a monster and you don't need to. And like, I still have like this weird 50-50 thing with him that I've always had where I kind of go like almost a fanboy, like hashtag Isaiah mode, because he does things like what he did last year where Joe's like, hey, run in this box for 24 hours in pitch black, even though this was not your plan at all. And the door closes in 5 minutes. And he's like, okay. And he ends up doing it. And it's like, what? Like that's unfreaking real. And I don't know.
His body of work is up there with most people in the sport.
Yeah. So mad respect to the amount of work he's put in. I don't think that cheating, this is not a very common opinion, but I don't think that cheating, even if you do it multiple times, is like a definition of your character or it takes away anything you've done in the past. I think it just means you've had several lapses in judgment. But anyways, and then the other thing it makes me think of is by switching the World Championship race to Sunday, they have effectively ejected two of the past multiple time world champions. Now, Hobie's not really competing anymore, but Cody is still an athlete who won't compete on Sunday because of religion. And
here's the word on the street. Word on the street is Hobie and Cody are back going after a world title this year.
Are they aware of the Sunday thing?
Well, that leads me to think one of two things. That one, they have decided to waive that and go after this because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for their family because it is the inaugural kids world championship. and they both have sons who are in that age. And there is a little birdie who's been tweeting about saying that the rumor is they're going to try to win worlds in the same year that their kids win the worlds, and that would be phenomenal. That might
Both
be worth.
of them?
Yeah, they're both going to go after. They both have kids in that age range.
I'm sorry, it really just struck home that I'm not surprised about Cody, but just, Hobie's been so official on this, I'm done thing that it's a.
Well, I've heard these things before about, stuff like this, but that makes sense. That would be a big enough reason to waive their I won't race on Sunday thing because it's for family. But the other thing it could mean is that maybe Spartan's not 100% sure that the schedule is going to stay as Sunday, Saturday versus Saturday, Sunday. I don't know. But lending some credence to this rumor is that Hobie and Cody both showed up and raced in, where was that? Was that Arizona?
No.
They weren't. Where did they race? They raced.
Oh, Utah. That's where VJ beat both of them.
That wasn't Utah.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a Utah race yet.
I'm pretty sure. Vegasona?
Vegas. Yeah, it was Vegas. You're correct. And so they showed up there, which didn't make waves to a lot of people. But what that means is they are now qualified because they went top 3. They are now qualified for West Virginia. So they don't have to do the U.S. National Series race. They're already qualified. All they have to do is go to West Virginia and take top 20, and they have qualified for World. Now, why would they both show up to Vegas early in the year, especially if they're not doing any of the other big races so far, unless they wanted to keep their options open to race at World Championships by qualifying for West Virginia?
This is not to diminish the fact that VJ took out 2 multiple-time world champions in one race, but that does lend some thought as to why that happened. At first, it was like, wow, VJ is an absolute monster, which he proved in his next 2 races he is. Right, which is true, but then it also adds a second line of thought, which is, okay, well, maybe there's a plan that Cody and Hobie were doing where, you're right, it was just qualify, like don't do any kind of big effort. And
well, I don't know. Sure they raced all out, but we don't know what fitness they're in.
Right. So I've
raced both of them many, many times, and they don't give you freebies.
Huh.
They just don't.
Well, dude, this little birdie that's whispered in your ears get me ridiculously excited. Like, this gets the blood running in me because that's I feel like my childhood was OCR. I catch myself all the time wanting to say, I grew up looking at, Hobie and Cody because I never really had like male figures or sports figures or athletes that I looked up to until I got into OCR. I never cared about football or, whatever. And so it's like this, it's almost like a childhood thing to be like, no way, they're going to be back. That'd be so cool to watch them.
Yeah. Now, I talked to Hobie last summer about this specific topic, and again this winter about it. And both times he's saying the same thing. I said, so when are we going to see you again? He's like, Brakken, I'm retired. And I'm so comfortable in that. Like, it's time. I did that it's time to do the family thing, he said. And then like every couple of weeks, I'll do a workout and I'll think like, I'm no more than 2 months away. I still have 2 months until I could win worlds again this year. I have 2 months to get ready. I still have it. I still have that fitness. I could do it. And then I have to like talk myself down. Like, no. You said you're not going to. And so for Hobie, his passion never fully left. He just decided like, for my family, it's time to move on. But again, that's why this lends credence to it in my book, because it's now a family thing.
Right.
If the rumors about the kids race are true, well, now, yeah, I can go be a good dad and train to win worlds. And not that he wasn't being a good dad. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I can be a family guy and stay true to what I promised my family and also go do this. So like, we all knew Hobie couldn't leave forever.
Right.
The Hobie thing, that's a little bit more interesting because, there are other forces at play with Cody and whether he will or won't keep racing. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And also, it's crazy. It'll be interesting to see what version we see of them because they are just getting old. And I mean that not in a disparaging way. They're both over 40. And Father Time is undefeated. So it'll be very interesting to see. Like, obviously, they're so good at what they do because they're freaks of nature.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if their freaks of nature also applies to aging. Like, clearly it does. They won worlds at 39 and 40, right? Or 39 and 39. But how long are they freaks for? Do they delay natural aging by 2 years or 5? Is it going to be 10? We're going to find out. Can they still continue being freaks?
And before we move too far away from this, I in no way was attempting to cast shade at their decision to, against religion, race, on Sunday, when they had in the past said that they weren't going to do it. Because I was raised Mormon the same way that they are still Mormon. And it's not like it's a hard, fast rule. The law is keep the Sabbath day holy, but the translation of that is basically up to each head of household
that they've made.
Exactly. It's like, you think about it, whatever. But
which makes it more impressive to me that it wasn't a mandate. They decided, I'm doing this because I believe it, and they haven't broken it once, despite numerous races that have been held on Sundays.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it's just a willy-nilly last stab at fame or anything.
No, because they're not those people.
No, not at all. I mean, Cody has never been interviewed by anybody ever except for live at races. He's the last guy who's out for the spotlight. And Hobie doesn't have that many interviews either. But Matt Novakovic, it seems to be the old guard, is coming back out. He just posted, and he's back active on social media talking about how the bear is coming back.
And he's looking fit. So,
well, when does he ever not look fit? That dude's always been ripped.
Yeah, I mean, he's always in shape, but like, he'll be the first to tell you, like, he has his walk around rate, his weight, he has his fitness weight, and he has his racing weight. And he's closer to his racing weight than I've seen him in a long time. And that's exciting to see. Because Matt is up there with, I put Matt, Hunter, Isaiah, Ryan Atkins, and this is, everyone can't be in the group, but I would say those 4 are 4 of the toughest, most mentally stubborn people I've ever raced against.
Yeah.
That's, again, not that, if you're not on that list, that's not a shot at you. It's just those people are so like visibly stubborn and tough during a race. Like, you can just look at them and tell you're one of the toughest people I've ever seen. Like, you will gladly hurt yourself in order to hurt me.
Yeah.
And Matt's one of the first people I raced that showed me that, where I was seeing him do things that I didn't feel he should be capable of doing. And he was only doing it because he was unwilling to not do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And you know what? That's not to say that they're bulletproof through and through. They just decide to be bulletproof. Like one of my favorite videos, I think 2 of the most well-shot videos there are in OCR are 2 featured videos, one about Hunter and one about Matt Novakovic. They're both the Road to Spartan World Championships. If you guys haven't seen them, they're fantastic. But Matt, I've got basically both of them memorized because I've watched them so many times. But in Matt's, he talks about the race. My first Spartan Super, my first mountain race was Wintergreen 2014. And that was when NBC started filming. It was like a Hunger Games event to me. It was unfreaking real. The mist had come down. It was so foggy. You couldn't see it. They delayed the men's race because the cameras couldn't see anything. They ended up saying, screw it, we got to do it. It was a wild race, and everybody knew it was a throwdown between Hunter and Matt Novakovic, and everyone else was just going to fall where they may. But no one, that's what the race was about. Because at the beginning of the race, Hunter said, dude, I don't care what it is. You will never beat me at anything. And Matt was like, okay. And he ended up beating him. But he talks about how mid-race, roughly the bucket brigade, he was thinking to himself, he's like, I got to come up with a reason to quit right now. And so that just popped into my head when you were talking about how tough he was. And to me, it's a good point to make, because it's real easy to look at these people who do incredibly tough things and think that that's all they're made of, is just sandpaper and grit. But no, they're just people who are making the decision. They're going through the same thing you're going through, maybe a little different, maybe they're more experienced with it, but they're making the decision to push past it. And so that's a big point to me, because it shows that everyone has the capability. They're just people who are tough enough that they've done it and they'll continue to do it.
I look at like it's another facet of fitness. You train it, and you can build up a callus to that, or you can not build up a callus to it. The more you back away from that flame, the less you build up a callus. And the longer you can hold your hand on the flame, the more you build up a callus to it. And it's a trainable trait of fitness. And there are some people who have it naturally more than others, and others who have it and don't train it, but those are the people who have absolutely like reached the pinnacle of that.
I've got this book right here, The Science of Running. It's like a huge textbook, but this in conjunction with 80-20 Running by Matt Fitzgerald, got me thinking. I have this alarm saved in my phone that I keep meaning to do, and I still haven't done it. And it's the note on there is smoke pot before trail run today. Experiment comes from page something of this book, blah, blah, blah. Because I've been reading a lot about that mental side of things. And, everyone knows about it. Everyone talks about it. The brain,
Did Matt Fitzgerald tell you to smoke pot before you ran today? Did you draw a conclusion?
I drew my own conclusions based off of information in the books. The books do not say go smoke pot. And I don't really smoke. And so it's the reason I haven't done it yet. But I was reading about, everyone knows the high level motivational sounding stuff that gets shouted in your ear at starting lines and stuff. The body will do what the mind commands, blah, blah, blah. But I like to get to the actual physiological function of that and see how to actually manipulate that. And I think a secondary benefit of runs like today, where you're not really gaining fitness necessarily, except for the fact that you're recovering. You are gaining that mental fitness where it's not just you becoming tougher. It's your brain is literally getting more used to the stimulus of discomfort and the actual chemicals that log in your brain as discomfort. And your brain is increasing its endurance to that chemical signal. And so your governor, or what you think your governor is, suddenly is not just connected to your lactic threshold, and when your muscles start to be overwhelmed with lactic acid, you can't shuttle it. It's like a conjunction of where you think your threshold is and where your mind is used to it being. And so I don't know, my theory, it was talking about the quiet brain and how there have been, moments in history where people do kind of like Michael Jordan dunking and different champions doing these amazing feats of athleticism, and talking about the peace and the inner quiet they had when they did it. And it wasn't this insane effort where they felt afterwards like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And I don't know. So my idea has been, if I essentially microdose with some kind of stimulant, like I'm not trying to go out there and get like super high and go stumble around trails. I want to do like I don't know. I'm not super educated on pot. So I don't know, one puff. I don't even know the language. And I don't know, see if it helps quiet the brain and focus or defeat focus. I don't know. But anyways, I got sidetracked there.
Sounds suspect to me.
Suspect? Yeah. I don't know. It's just the idea. I mean, you're familiar
Maybe start
with
with calming music.
Wait, what did you say?
Maybe start with calming music.
Well, no, I've been there. I've done that, dude. The amount of time the percentage probability of you coming across me trail running and me crying at the same time, it's pretty high. I cry on like half of my trail runs because I'm just in such like a trippy, oh my God, I love nature. Like I literally reach out and like rub trees as I run past them. And I'm like, I bless you. And I take your energy and your power. And I get pretty like tree huggy out there.
That's strange.
That's
strange.
Well, that's me. That's why I got a heart. Dude, you know what I realized last night? All three of my brothers were standing shirtless in the bathroom for some reason, looking in the mirror. And we noticed that all of us, except for my younger brother, because he has no body hair for some weird reason. So we have, me and my older brother, we both have the heart-shaped chest hair. So I think it's just like a Gifford thing.
I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah.
Backtracking to a point you made about getting used to handling the chemical imbalance of fatigue. You were just talking about books. A book I'm reading right now is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And if you don't know David Goggins, look up his story. This book was recommended to me by another OCR guy, Ian Caskey, third place finisher in the Tahoe Ultra Beast last year. And I guess we can get in. We'll probably just interview Ian another time and then explain for himself there. But basically he said like, hey, in this off season, as you're getting back to racing, I know it's been a long time since you've like got into the fight of a hard race. Read this book, like get into it. And I'll admit the first couple of chapters like chafed at me. I just didn't love the writing style. I didn't love his Just the way he presented it. I feel like I don't need to be hoorah-rah. I don't need to be impressed. Just like talk to me and tell me some stuff. But like he won me over.
You don't need to handle your business.
I don't know. I've never been like the Coach Payne speech at the start of a race. That doesn't do it for me. But I'll give David Goggins a lot of credit. His book, his stories won me over throughout it. And he has a lot of just gems throughout this book as well, of like nuggets of wisdom and mantras you can deal with. And then relatable stories of in race mental battles that he's had. But one of the things he talked about that related directly to that really hit home to me was like the first time someone in their life gets punched really hard in the face, oftentimes it drops them. And it's not necessarily that you got caught on the button and your legs gave out. It's that you were hit really hard and it was a shock to you. And you mentally dropped to the ground because you didn't know like what was going to happen next. You either got hit in the nose and your nose broke, or you got hit on the eyebrow and your face exploded in pain, or you get caught on the chin and you get a little dizzy, whatever it is. Generally, your first time getting hit really hard, maybe it's a punch, maybe it's getting elbowed by somebody, you drop to the ground and people cover up. Not everyone, but most people. And let's say you joined a boxing club, started going to class, like your first time taking a really hard shot, you probably were like, you put your hands up like, I got to go take a minute. Like that's just not, that's too hard. I can't take any more of that. And yet 10 years later, if you kept doing this and kept sparring and kept fighting, you could now take, 10, 12 rounds of shots like that. And his point was the blow hasn't diminished. Like the person hitting you isn't hitting you less hard. In fact, if you're still doing this 10 years later, you're fighting more skilled opponents and they're probably hitting you harder with better technique and better placement. And you didn't get stronger. Your chin doesn't get stronger the more it gets hit. Over time, it erodes. But mentally, the blow doesn't affect you as much because it's not a surprise. I've been hit like that before and I didn't die. And I was able to, hold my own until my senses cleared. And now you see guys who can take obnoxious beatings and make it to the final bell. And it's not because their brain got tougher or their jaw calcified or anything. It's just that they got accustomed to getting hit that hard.
Brakken, can you remember any particular moments where you realized that you had calcified, that you had gotten harder, that you had realized, I've made an advance here?
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second. But his thing was that the same thing happens in endurance and in racing. We all get to this point, and he calls it the 40% rule. That when you realize I'm done, I can't really do this any longer, you're probably 40% of the way to your true total capacity. And I don't know if I agree with that number or not, but I've had a very vivid, we were talking ultras. My first ultra was the Killington Ultra Beast. And I know I've told this story before, but I think it's an important one. I trained for 26 weeks for the 2012 Vermont, the Spartan World Championship Beast in Vermont. And I'd analyzed the course and everyone's results from the previous years and who was going to be there. And I figured, I think I could complete this course in 3 hours or less. And so I trained for 26 weeks building up to a 3-hour performance. And I dialed in my nutrition and the exact caloric need and water needs I needed for different temperatures to get through exactly 3 hours and not a second longer. In my eyes, if I ran over 3 hours, I wasn't on the podium and I had no desire to do anything other than podium. So 26 weeks, that was the longest buildup for any race in my life. And it was a unique year because you started the Beast and the Ultra Beast, both were world championship events at the same time. And you ran the same course. And you either finished through the finish line or you finished through the finish line and continued out again for your second loop. And people could do both, but you had to sign up in advance for both.
Nah.
And I wanted no part of that. I trained specifically for 3 hours. So the race went out and immediately Hobie and Cody gapped the field. And I told myself, if 1 or 2 people go and I can't go with them, I let them go. If 3 go, I have to go until I break because my only reason for being there is a podium. And so I ran in third with 3 other guys for the next 2 hours.
Ugh.
And eventually one dropped off and then another dropped off and it was down to just me and one other guy for the final podium spot at Worlds. And we ran together. And on the final climb, I broke away and then descended like terrified out of my mind that I was going to get caught by this guy. And I came all the way through, and the last two obstacles were spear throw and slip wall. And they're both right at the finish. And I just knew I'm going to hit the spear. And like, it was perfect. I hit it. I ran up the slip wall. I finished. My time was 2:59, like 47. Like everything I had done, I just knew everything about that course. And I knew it to almost the second how long it could take me. And it was just perfect. And I was riding this wave of like euphoria, and they interviewed me. And the interviewer's like, so you looked pretty good out there crossing the finish line, a lot stronger than people we expected. Why didn't you do the Ultra Beast? I was like, you know what? I had no desire to do that. I didn't train for it. I trained for this. He's like, well, you seem pretty good now. Like, could you go out and do it? I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling kind of good. I don't know. Maybe I could have. And he said, go do it. I said, well, I didn't sign up. I can't do that. He said, I'm the race director. Go do it. I said, I don't have a timing chip. He goes, go get him a timing chip. And a guy came back with one. He's like, what excuse do you have? Go do it. And I was like, okay, all right, do it. And like, I had been called out in the spot, and I was riding this wave of adrenaline. And Alec Blennis was part of the Lost Tribe, or whatever they called them. They had gone the wrong way and got lost in the Ultra Beast. And there's like 20 or 30 people that all got lost. And so they were already back down because they'd been DQ'd. So they were down sitting there. And he's like, here, man, take my wristband, because you needed a wristband to go out and race. I'm like, thank you so much. And he's like, and take my hydration pack. I've never trained with one of those. I don't want it. It's going to like, I've gone over all my gear, and I didn't want to like something new in the equation. So long story short, I took off running, just charged away, and with nothing. I didn't bring anything because I didn't have anything.
Did you eat anything in between?
No, I did my interview and then I left.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I might have on my way out at the finisher table, like taken a chug of water and like a bite of a banana. But
Well, so now haven't you lost a whole bunch of time now?
yeah, but we were racing the beast. Like racing all out through. We were probably 35 minutes ahead of. So Cody continued on. He's in first place. Hobie did not. So I'm in second place, and third place hasn't even come in yet. So I'm like, well, whatever. So I take off running, and I fall apart immediately. I'm making a quarter mile up the first climb, and my legs are just trashed.
Oh, no.
I'm getting side stitches, and I'm like, what am I even thinking? Like, the adrenaline is gone. I'm out of sight. There's no one around, literally nobody around, because I'm just out there. And I can't do this. So like, I've felt this in workouts before. I have maybe a couple more minutes left, and then I'm going to be reduced to walking, and I'm done. So I just decided I'll make it until the next guy catches me, but the course loops around at mile 4.5 down at the water for the swim. I'll just walk off the course there. Because I got to get back down there anyway. So that's what I was going to do. And by the time I get back down there, I'm starting to trip, and I'm like stuff snagging me, and I'm falling, and I still haven't had any food or water. And second place, I'm still in second. There's no one in sight. And I thought, well, like, shoot, I'll just continue until third place catches me, and then I'll quit the race. And I just kept doing that, but I was miserable, like just barely putting a foot in front of the other. But this whole time, every step I took was longer than I'd ever pushed in a workout, because every time I got to that point, I knew like, I just can't work out any longer. It just, A, wouldn't be smart, and B, I'm not going to be able to run any longer. I just kept going, and my body started shutting down. It was the strangest. I had a clear mind, but I could clearly see that things were going wrong. So I could feel like my non-important body functions being shut down to like, it felt like to conserve energy. So like my hearing started going. It was like I was underwater, and my vision started blurring on the edges, and it started narrowing until I could really just see right in front of me. And it got to the point I was slurring my words, and I just urinated without really caring or control. And it was like orangish brown, and I was stumbling and falling like crazy. And finally, Jung Young Pak caught me. He was in third, and he caught me in a barbed wire crawl. And we talked for a little bit, and then he continued on. I was like, well, I'm at like mile 9 now.
Ugh.
I can't. And it was like a 17.5 mile race or something like that. It was really long. Maybe it was 15.5. Doesn't matter. I had a couple hours to go still. I'm barely moving. But I still had my empty flasks. So I took my flasks out and I started filling them up because they were spraying us with the water. And I grabbed one of the hoses and I filled it up and I drank it and filled the next one and drank it and then refilled them and put them back in. And then I noticed another flask sitting there with like someone had dropped it and it had purple gunk at the bottom of it. So I filled that up and shook it up and I got those calories and I drank it. And then I kept running and I drank the rest of it and I'm out of water. And I filled up again in the lake and I drank more and like started to be able to hear a little bit. And then it started going away a little bit. And finally I was just like totally done. Volunteer was trying to talk to me and I was slurring. I couldn't respond to him. And this other racer came up who was doing the beast and was walking with a friend who got hurt. So I could accept aid from him because he was a racer in elite. He gave me 2 power bars and I ate them and like had an immediate surge of energy. And I just took off running up the mountain. And I went from having like the worst feeling ever. Like I can't even describe how bad my legs felt and how bad everything felt. And I found myself running up parts of the mountain. And then I got to the final climb and I hiked the whole thing. And I got to the top and I started running down. And at the bottom, we hit this final running section and I went sub-6 my last mile.
You didn't catch Jun though.
What?
You didn't catch Jun.
No, but yeah. I no longer had a worry in the world. Going up the last climb, I was crying. Like you talked about, I was crying. I was like, I would think about something like, oh man, the whole time I was thinking, I told my parents and Lisa, I'm not going for a second lap. So I'll talk to you immediately after the race.
Oh no.
And my first lap took 3 hours and I had 10 minutes in transition. And the second lap ended up taking me like 4 hours and 45 minutes. I had an hour 45 the second lap because I was dead. And I'm like, they have no idea what happened. And this is back before live updates. And like the thought of that, I just start bawling and crying and going up the mountain. Now the open waves are on the mountain. And I'm like, just chugging up past people, just like crying, like, you okay, man? I'm like, I'm in 3rd place. Crying. And like, I had like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, but every step I took past mile 4 was one step past the farthest point I've ever worked. And then to run like 5:52 my last mile and then nail my spear throw. And I ran up the slip wall without touching the rope because I was so pumped up and I charged over the fire. And afterwards I was utterly, utterly destroyed. But I was thinking like, I just spent the last 4 hours out there. Every second of that was a second longer than I'd ever pushed in my life. In a second longer than I would have told you I wasn't capable of pushing. So that's a really long story. But I think it really illustrates the fact that like I was already an all-American runner in college. And I'd been running for probably 15 years at that point. And I was already an established Spartan racer. And I knew my body as well as someone at my age probably can know their body. And I discovered 4 extra hours of racing off no calories and no water. That's the biggest thing. Throughout that second lap, I got 2 power bars. So whatever those calories are, and probably 20 ounces of water for 4 hours and 45 minutes after having the bare minimum for 3 hours. So I was in like the worst possible position I could be in. And I had 4 hours more than I knew. And I closed in 5:52, I think. Yeah. So what that goes to show me is that I probably had 4 more hours. If I could close in 5:52, I probably could have done the course again. I might have walked like 60% of the race, but I was still at the lowest point I've ever been at physically. I was still nowhere near actual like shutdown.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I've heard you tell that story multiple times, but this whole time I was like over the chair, like, yeah. Then what happens? Because that's an awesome story. And it makes me, and I'm sure anybody listening, think about their own personal worst experiences they've had racing, where maybe they were happy they finished. Maybe the whole thing was just a crap experience. That's kind of how my World Championships 2016, I think the last year in Ohio went, because it was just so cold and miserable. No, I think 2015. And it was just so cold and miserable. And I, like, about halfway through the race, I had twisted both my ankles like twice, and I was just so unbelievably cold. And for some reason, I was just feeling incredibly depleted. And I thought, I give up. And then I stopped for 1 second. I realized, okay, that's great. You're still in the middle of nowhere. You still have to get back there. So just, you got no choice. So just keep going. So eventually my pace picked back up and I started racing again, but I didn't quite have the same 5:52 closing attitude that you did. But yeah.
I also had longer time to get there. There's something powerful about really long events that you can't get in short events. If you're running a mile, when your body breaks, like there is no mental way around that. You cannot fight oxygen debt. But ultra endurance events, the longer stuff, it's so submaximal that there's always more there. And most of that is mind driven. You can't tough yourself to a sub 4 minute mile if you're a 5 minute miler. You can't do that. I've tried for years. It doesn't matter how tough you get. The laws of physics apply to you and the laws of biology apply to you, and you just crumble and you can't help it. And suddenly I found 4 hours on a course.
Yeah.
It was only because it's a submaximal effort, but there's something powered. And I think that's why there's this magic to those races that I never got until that day, is that I left that race knowing something about myself that I would have swore was impossible. And I never found that in an 800 or a 1500. Oh, I dropped a 10th of a second and I was ecstatic, but I didn't learn anything new about myself. I learned something new about tactics. I learned something out there on that course. And I've never to this day had something that even gave me the opportunity to push further. And I think that's part of why I'm excited about an ultra again. I want to push further again.
And that speaks to the difference between, I forget which book I was reading. It's about this guy who was always a 4. It starts off saying, you know how I know you're a being scouted high school runner? You run a 4:01 or you run a 4. It starts off like that. And I can't remember the name of the book, but he talks about the difference between, we're all runners, but he talks about the difference between the cross country people and the sprinters and like the track and field guys, and how they're just different people. And I think that plays into it right there. That doesn't mean that everybody who runs endurance races is some deep guru who is obsessed with personal development and stuff. But there's a side of it that you're talking about that you're right. The appeal of, and the stimulus that I get from something like the Tough Mudder X race, where I learned a new level I could push to, but in a different way. It was a height of pain that my body could still operate through. But it wasn't the same type of endurance grinding grit that you get from endurance events. And I think that's a huge distinction to be made. It's a wildly different experience.
You can hit your ceiling in a short anaerobic event way easier than you can hit it in an ultra event, because the duration means that it's almost impossible to run it at your max the entire time. So you always just find more, and you can die and walk for a day and then run more. Like it's just a whole different animal. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind blowing. And I can't wait for it this year.
Yeah. Well, dude, you're starting to get me like longing for that raw experience of that I know is going to suck. Like I don't get excited about the suck of, the races I'm focused on. I just get focused on that. Let's go for, 15 to 30 minutes. But this is like this, like deep down in my gut, like desire to experience something that is going to push me in a way that is wildly unpleasant.
Yeah, it's that paired with my desire to write out a training plan for it. I love the challenge of building for this while building for a stadium. Like that gets me going. I love writing those type of plans. But
yeah. Well, we're getting up to our now typical length of episode, where we're up at roughly 2 hours at this point. But I wanted to do some rapid fire with you, like we always do with our guests. So, you ready for some rapid fire?
Yeah.
All right, let's kick it off, man. What favorite athlete?
Okay, so growing up, Robin Yount. As a runner, Steve Scott was always my idol. He was the American record holder in a mile for like 15 or 20 years until Alan Webb broke it. And he held the record that I don't know if it's been broken yet, of most times breaking the 4 minute mile in his career.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He survived testicular cancer. not like the greatest guy ever. He cheated on his wife, and I think he had a divorce and all this. But like in terms of an athlete and overcoming things and a career that spoke to me as a middle distance runner, I idolized Steve Scott.
Yeah. Okay. Scott, is that Scott of Scott Shoes?
It is not, unfortunately.
I was trying to
He was involved with a shoe brand called Sub 4. And the only people who probably know about it were the people who were involved with it and people who grew up getting the East Bay shoe magazine in high school. It went under in just about 3 or 4 years.
Dude, I wish that I had like a childhood based around the stuff that I'm going through now, because it just sounds like I missed out on so much cool stuff as a kid. Okay, favorite OCR athlete?
Favorite OCR athlete? God, I mean, I came into the sport and got beat by Hobie on day one, and I spent the rest of my career chasing him. So I got to say him. But I will say that in terms of like favorite overall athlete, I'm a Lindsay Webster fan. She has like everyone's dream mentality. Like everyone says, like, I want to just do what I love and enjoy what I'm doing. But you watch her and she like is always calm. She is always happy. And she like, you can see her passion for what she does. So like from a fan perspective, it's Lindsay. From a idol perspective, it's Hobie.
I have never, ever, ever once seen her in a bad mood or any mood other than, hey, hi, having a great time. Yeah. Like never.
We know we all get them. So she just must be phenomenal at putting on the person she wants to be rather than the person her emotions are telling her to be. If she must be incredible at that.
Well, and I think that might speak to why I have her as like one of your favorite OCR athletes, is because maybe it's not so much that, I'm not going to say an act, but putting forth the person that she wants to be. I think it's that she really goes into it with the mentality that she's just out here doing what she loves, that maybe she doesn't have, like she does have down times, but I mean, we all saw her face as it was happening when she had her hair caught in that barbed wire, like the most ridiculous.
That's exactly what I keep flashing to.
It has nothing.
I feel like we are who we are when things go wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't help but like, you get that flash of someone's face. Like, oh, I saw that. Like,
yeah. And
there's an asshole in you. I've never seen that in her.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's the worst thing. It has nothing to do with your athleticism, your fitness, your training. It's almost like a spit in the face in the amount of work you put in to get your hair caught in the barbed wire. And yet, she didn't exhibit any kind of crankiness. So, okay. I
walked off a course once because my spear fell out of the hay. And I left the venue. Like, to see her go through that, not only was it super impressive, but it like reflected back on me like, all right, I'm ashamed. So that's super impressive.
Okay. Favorite drink?
Blue Moon. If not that, Aldi Lambrusco wine.
Oh, okay. I was like, these sound, I guess,
Blue Moon is a basic white boys fake classy beer, and Lambrusco wine by Aldi is the most fantastic $5.99 wine you'll ever find in your life.
Is it in a box?
It's in a bottle.
Oh, I don't know.
Up, Benny.
I don't know. I'm getting from Aldi. How would I supposed to know?
It's $5.99. It's fantastic though.
Okay. Favorite food?
Either pizza or nachos.
Okay. Favorite place to live and train, or if you could pick anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I mean,
family's there and everything.
For me, it's Colorado. I love Colorado. I can't go wrong with it. But having been to New Zealand, I could say that New Zealand could very easily steal me away.
Okay. Get a run around with some hobbits. Most proud athletic moment. Actually, no, hold on. Well, yeah. Let's do athletic moment.
When I was a freshman in high school, I was playing on the JV baseball team. And my entire life growing up, we played a game called base runner. You know what that is?
No.
All right. It's where you just set up two bases, probably 45 feet away from each other. And there are two people with their gloves and one ball, and people just line up on one base. And the people start throwing the ball back and forth. And your goal is to make it to the other base without getting tagged. And you play for a set amount of time. And whoever steals the most bases back and forth is the winner at the end.
Oh, okay.
So it's a huge game of strategy and speed. So what you have to do is your time to run, or there's only two times to run: when the ball is in the air or when the ball gets past someone who's throwing it or catching it. So if they make a mistake, you got to go. If there's an overthrow, people are just like, it's a free for all running back and forth and you're calling your bases out. But while the ball's in the air, if you time it right, if you can take off running as they release it, and if it's not a fast throw, you can make it to the other base before the other person catches it and throws it back.
Okay.
So it's called base runner. It's incredibly fun for a little kid. But you get into what's called a pickle, right? So if you don't make it there and they have the ball, you can either accept defeat and run up and get tagged. And if you get tagged 3 times, you're out of the game. Or you get into a pickle. And that's where you slam on the brakes and start running back. And now they have to either chase you and tag you or throw the ball to the other side. And then you get caught up in this back and forth ping pong game. And that was what I loved about the game. I was like, my savant was getting out of pickles. So anyways, I had visualized if it ever happened in a real game. In my sophomore year, playing a JV tournament for a championship. We were playing the powerhouse of our conference. And it's JV baseball. No one cares. Yeah.
Your little Wi-Fi thing in the bottom left corner just went red and you started skipping for a second. So just wait 1 second. I don't know what changed.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. It's good again. Pick up at what you just started saying.
So flash forward to my freshman year of baseball, and I was the smallest kid on the field. I was 5 foot, 102 pounds for my freshman year of physical. I was tiny, decently skilled at everything, but I was so small. I had to like find my way to like make everything work. And we're in our championship game of our JV tournament. Like no one cared about it, but the people in it. We were playing our conference powerhouse, and I was on third base, and there were 2 outs, and we were down a run, and we decided to do what's called a suicide squeeze. And that is where, as the pitcher releases the ball, the batter turns around to bunt the baseball as the person on third base has already taken off for home.
Okay.
So it's a risky play. If you can bunt the ball, all he has to do is tap the ball, and you're going to slide in the home before anyone can pick it up and tag you. If he misses it, you're screwed. And it's called a suicide. There's a safety squeeze and a suicide. Safety squeeze is where you wait until he bunts and then you run home. A suicide squeeze is you take off running as the pitcher starts throwing, and you're going to get in if they tap it, if they bunt it. But if they don't get the bunt down, it's suicide.
Right.
So he misses the bunt. And we have 2 outs. It's the last inning. We're down 1. And I slam on the brakes right before the catcher. And I got out of the pickle and I scored. Tied the game. We went on and run. So to date, that's my greatest athletic accomplishment. I practiced for like 12 years for that moment. And I visualized it every day. And I put it into practice.
Dude, hell yeah. How juicy is that to have the thing that you've been dreaming about actually happen just like you wanted to?
That was a peak of my athletic career.
That's freaking incredible. All right, music. What kind of music do you listen to?
So I'm sure it's kind of cliche to say, but a bit of everything. I grew up in Milwaukee, which is a strange place. It's like half white trash and half a little bit ghetto. And so I enjoy country, and I also am a big fan of hip hop. And, but my dad liked some of the older stuff. So I really love 80s rock. I really like 90s and 2000 to early 2000s country. I love all hip hop. I like everything. But what I'm a sucker for, Benny, we talked about this a little earlier. I'm a sucker for a strong, atypical female vocalist. So like I'm talking back in the day, Evanescence. I'm talking who else could we talk about here? No Doubt. Gwen Stefani. I like them. Going back, Fleetwood Mac, things like that. So I like everything, but if you throw nowadays like Halsey or I'm blanking on a lot of people, but anything like that, you throw a strong female vocalist at me, I probably like it.
Yeah, Gasoline. I love Gasoline. It's a great song by her. But Evanescence, dude, that's like borderline.
Evanescence. Take me back to high school.
Dude, so good. That's like borderline symphonic metal. It's freaking fan. That's like a movie fight scene stuff. It's fantastic.
That's right. I feel like Evanescence made their music to be included in a soundtrack of a movie.
Oh, totally, dude. It's so freaking. It has not been in my rotations for a long time, and I think it's time to bring it back now that we're shifting to some more like stadium focused stuff.
Bishop Briggs. Bishop Briggs is another person who has that kind of like haunting, that female melody. I'll even go down the road of like Lana Del Rey.
Dude, I'm going to be honest. ever since you said Evanescence, every name after that, I've been like, oh yeah, cool. Never heard of them.
Okay. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, that's not my only thing, but like recently
Yeah.
on runs, I've been listening to some of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, just about anything.
Dude, this might be a little more on the like creepy, eerie side, but like Flyleaf is another, she screams. It's a chick who screams, and she can actually scream good. It's I don't know how you describe it. I think you call it metal. I don't know. I get them rock and metal and screamo stuff mixed up, but it's like Evanescence, but not symphonic, a little heavier, and she screams some. But yeah, I don't know if you'd like it. You don't seem like a screamo guy.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'll dabble.
Dude,
I'm not gonna write it off.
Dude, I dig me some Atreyu. I have been hardcore Atreyu fan since high school. Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses when I was a little emo kid. It was fantastic.
I would say I'm not hardcore about any single type of music, but I like most of it.
I have a hard time. I love dancing to country music. I do not like listening to it. Mostly because if I listen to it, I need to start dancing. And
my most played Pandora station right now, or Spotify playlist right now from running, has been The Weeknd.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like some real like moody, sexual, slow, soul, bluesy R&B. For whatever reason, that gets me on my runs.
You're waiting for one of those mountain lions to come around and be like, "Hey, sexy! Instead of attacking me, will you say we climb that tree together? Have a good time."
I'm not gonna fight you, lion.
Yeah, I've been on kind of. Have you heard? Do you know who Spose is? I might be saying it wrong.
Nope.
It's kind of like a rapper. Yeah, he's a rapper. I don't know. I like his own pop song and Mind Your Manners. You know who Chitty Bang is?
I do.
I don't know why. I just, dude, if it comes across my Spotify, I'm like, dude, you know how you know you're badass and actually a gangster is when you think you're listening to gangster music and you're just on a Spotify playlist, and then I'm on a boat comes down the playlist, and I'm like, you know what? If that's similar to what I'm listening to, I'm probably not that gangster. Yeah, and I want to hear your workout of the week.
Workout of the week. Well, I guess that my two that I've had this week have been that 19-mile bike time trial, and then my 21-mile basically time trial.
You heard it from the stadium champ himself. 21 miles.
That's right. Hey, I'm prepping for an Ultra Beast.
That's true.
But coming up, I've got the old faithful OCR 400s coming up this weekend.
Ugh.
400-meter run, 15 to 20 reps of something, whether it's jumping lunges, burpees, ground to overhead, and then right back into another 400. 4 of those, and he earns you a 3-minute rest. Repeat those until pace breaks.
Nice.
That's old faithful.
Dude, you ready to get your soul crushed at the Grit Games?
Girl, please.
Girl, please.
Right, I'm going to rapid fire you.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. We'll go backwards for you. Workout of the week.
That would be the climbing intervals. No, you know what? I'm going to give it to the Yancey Camp workout with, it was some running mixed in with some towel pull-ups with some hand position changes. Nobody can destroy your grip in a more sport specific way than Yancey can. Yancey Camp can.
All grips get you.
Dude, like you think you're a badass, and then you get 3 sets into this, and you hang from that towel for like 3 seconds. And you're like, oh my God, I suck at everything. It was brutal. But dude, it teaches your body the same stimulus that you experience during a race while just bulletproofing your grip and giving you this level of confidence on obstacles that just allows you to fly into obstacles and fly out of obstacles just with complete confidence.
I like it. All right. So I said 2 workouts. Give me your second.
Second would be because I'm so focused on developing and fixing the thing that I didn't bring into the last stadium race, which was a sharpened edge of high intensity. It's another high intensity workout, even though the majority of my work is very low intensity. It was climbing on a treadmill. I was rotating between 10, 15, and 30%. And it was basically a threshold run almost the whole time. It was like flirting with race pace with 60 to 90 seconds of recovery in between 6-minute intervals, rotating between 10%, 15. And then I switched over to 30% incline, which is a smack in the face. If you haven't done anything about 15% incline in a long time, you crank that treadmill up to 30 and you're like, how am I not completely falling over right now? It feels ridiculous, but dude, blew my ass up like crazy. Literally, my ass was on fire, and I was like, "Sweet, I'm gonna get some glutes from this."
Nice. All right, favorite food.
Little Caesars pizza.
Oh, follow up to my Ultra Beast story. I stumbled to the car. I was freezing. I cranked the heat all the way up, and in the back seat, I had 2 32-ounce Gatorades, and I had 3/4 of a Little Caesars Meat Lovers pizza.
Yeah,
And that's what I housed after that race.
yeah, dude. Talk about a calorie smackdown. I think it's either 1,200 or 2,200, which is a massive difference. But I'm pretty sure I think it's a 1,200 calorie pizza. And yeah, dude, post race.
Oh, it's more than that.
So then it's probably 2,200, or is it 2,000? Yeah. You know what? It's a lot. And yeah, it's the juiciest thing. Sometimes I usually just eat that Saturday nights because Sunday I don't train. And so it doesn't matter that I'm lactose intolerant. I can deal with it. But yesterday after that high intensity workout, I was like, I need a lot of calories all at once. So I just went and slammed.
Favorite drink?
Zevia. Zevia. And not ginger root beer, even though I love ginger root beer. I'm going to go with the black cherry.
All right. The athletic accomplishment you're most proud of?
That's a tough one. I wish I had something that just stood out the way that you immediately were like, I got this. You know what? I'm going to label that as pending. I have yet to have something that I walk away from thinking, right. I don't know.
Most successful athletic race to date? OCR.
Well, if we're going to talk successful based off competition, who I was competing against, it's not one where I won first place. It was the first North American Championships where I was less than a minute off of Hunter for the win. I was less than 25 seconds back from Ryan Woods on a 3K, and this was with repeating 2 obstacles. Because of, honestly, one of them I know for a fact I finished, but the volunteer wasn't sure. And as I was running off, I saw their face and I turned and asked him, I was like, do you want me to redo that? Because I'm not going to get this like post-race DQ shit. And he was like, yeah, just come back and do it. And I was like, fine. So I came back and did it again. And then the second one, I was just being stupid. It was like that, I think it's called Skyline at OCR now, the one with the big spinning wheels. I dove out and tried to do it in one succession, and I completely let go halfway. No, what?
Is that Wheel World?
No, that's from Savage Race. But the one in OCR World is basically that with bigger circles that spin kind of diagonally instead of horizontal to the ground. And I launched off of just one of them and flew straight at the bell. And I completely was right there. I just, for some reason, swiped right next to the bell instead of hitting the bell. Like I don't know, I was drunk or something. But that's got to be my greatest on paper accomplishment.
Okay. You know who wouldn't have failed 2 obstacles there? Is Mac, king of obstacles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he also did get 5th overall for women at the City Field race. So I'm pretty happy.
Ooh, shots fired. All right. Favorite OCR athlete?
I'm going to go with, I'm going to say Leon Kofold from Denmark. That guy is so fun. Him and Nikolai both. And Nikolai, don't be butthurt because I didn't say you. I don't know. Just Leon's a really chipper guy. He's really fun. He's a fierce freaking athlete, and he's wicked fast.
Wicked fast. All right, one place to train in the world. Where are you training?
From the amount of time I've been spending on the Appalachian Trail, I'd have to say in North Carolina in I think it's Pisgah National Forest. It's like 45 minutes northeast of Asheville. Just close enough to an international airport. Costco's not too far away, and I don't really care about altitude. I've never noticed a thing. Like I don't know if it's a thing you notice or not, but I'd give up that 1 or 2% potential benefit to get the beauty of the Appalachian Trail.
Okay. What is your go-to inspirational mantra or quote that you repeat to yourself during or before races?
Yeah, well, usually during a race, if I'm in a real bad place mentally and I start seeing that my brain is going to, you know what, maybe 3rd is fine. You can just let 2 go. This, he's faster, blah, blah, blah. Just let him go. Tell me if you know where this is from. I just start repeating over and over in my head. I say, I see pride. I see power. I see, I see a badass mother who don't take no crap off of nobody. And I just repeat it over and over and over. And not even because the content is necessarily inspiring to me. It's just something that makes me laugh and gets me fired up and gets me thinking about and feeling those emotions and not thinking, oh, second, third is fine or whatever.
Okay. I like it. I like it. If you could be a professional at one thing other than OCR, what would it be? A sport.
Ooh, God, I always wanted to be a soccer player, but honestly, I would have to go with endurocross. If I would have, my dad sold all of our dirt bikes and stuff when I was 18, and so there's been a big disconnect from that world for a long time. But I had a knack. Like when I was 14, I was looking at cliff sides and thinking, I bet I can get up that. I had a weird talent for climbing things on my dirt bike that people would be like, no, that's not part of the trail. That's like the edge you stay away from. So I think it would be endurocross.
All righty. Last thing. Favorite off-day activity?
Masturbating. No.
You only do that on off days, huh?
Just off days, man. Gotta, peak on my testosterone.
No wonder there's so many blanks in your training log.
That's exactly what it is. No, favorite off-day activity would be either bouldering. I'm just getting a membership finally. I think I've climbed like 4 times in the past 3 years, and I finally need to just start doing that. Either that or it's super boring, but just hanging out with my family.
Okay. So you've done something 4 times in 3 years, and it's your favorite off-day activity.
Dude, I love it. Every time I do it, I'm like, why the hell do I not have a membership here? So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let that slide then. Well, Benny, thank you for being part of Rapid Fire.
Yeah. It was such an honor to be a guest of Obstacle Dominator.
I appreciate you not wearing a shirt to this interview.
Yeah, well, hey,
Benny, I've appreciated our gender swap on our clothes today. I'm excited for the Obstacle Dominator podcast training plan to come out, and I'm excited to see what you do in DC now that Red Bull let you off the hook for the Copper Peak Sky Race. Not Sky Race, Red Bull 400.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited. Whether Isaiah ends up coming on or not. By the way, I am now blocked from Isaiah. He blocked me, so I can't message him. So everyone else should message him this episode and say, hey, dude, we think it would be cool if you'd come on because we're all still like 50-50 fans of you, and we would love to get rid of that 50% that everyone's kind of whining about. So love to see Isaiah come on. If not, no harm, no foul. And just excited to toe the line at this supercharged DC race with Kempson with the shit talk on Instagram. And I know Isaiah's.
I think Kempson's. Oh, yeah. Kempson and Kent. Kent's coming.
Wait. I'm sorry. Ryan Kempson is coming too?
No, Matt Kempson.
Okay, but Kent is coming. That's right.
Kent is coming, correct.
Okay. All right. Well, might be yanking some man buns. Is he rocking the buns still?
Oh, it's big.
It's there. It's ready to be grabbed. Well, we'll see if I get to be in the first wave this time. Honestly,
I imagine that you are.
I would hope so. That would be great. But all right, folks, thanks for listening in. And don't forget to go leave some reviews with some actual feedback of things you like, not just things you dislike. We want to know what you like so we can do more of it. But then also tell us, we don't like seeing Brakken's arms. He needs to hide those, or, what it is.
Back on, boy.
Or what you guys want. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 10, we decided. And we'll see you guys soon.
Visit obstacledominator.com for show notes, training, and racing resources. And leave your question for Beni and Brakken.